All right, good evening. We're going to call this meeting to order. It's 6:04 p.m. on March 26, 2026. We're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, good evening. We're going to go ahead and start with introductions. Trustee Carrion is absent tonight. We're wishing her best of luck with some travels. And with that, we're going to go ahead with Namarta Graywell. If you can go ahead and start us out.
Good evening, Namarta Graywell, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources.
Good evening, Ahmed Goslami with Business Services.
Good evening, Ed Dialazzo, Deputy Superintendent, Ed Services.
Good evening, Elizabeth Gersich, Student Board Trustee.
Justin Brown, regular trustee.
Charlie Jones, trustee for Area 4.
Lori Walker, serving as Vice President this year.
Trustee Kelly McCoshy serving as President this year.
Maurice Geisel, Superintendent, welcome. Good evening, and welcome to everyone online, and go Falcons.
And Lanita Villa, Senior Executive Assistant to Dr. Geisel in the Board of Trustees.
Okay, so next on the agenda is report out of closed session actions and open session actions on closed session items. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight two items. Closed session item 2A, the board voted 4-0 with one absent. The motion made by Trustee Jones and seconded by Trustee Walker to approve a request for an algebra waiver for a student in special education, case number 117.25.26. In addition, we have on closed session section item 2A, the board voted 4-0 with one absent, with the motion made by Trustee Brown and seconded by Trustee Walker to approve a compromise and release agreement for internal case number SED 107.25.26 for the amount not to exceed $6,250. And that is all that we have for report out in closed session. So next on the agenda is approval of the agenda and the board QA. So item A, looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Trustee Brown, seconded by Trustee Jones. Preferential vote from our trustee student board member?
Aye.
And others?
Aye.
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 And aye. Motion passes with preferential vote and 4-0, one absent. Motion carries. So one comment for the board Q&A and meeting follow-up. This is something that has been added to the agenda within the last year or so. This is available on Sibley, and this is an opportunity for the student board, trustee, as well as all trustees to ask questions to the district staff on any item related to the agenda. So some weeks there are questions, sometimes not, and when you see that little paper clip, that shows the attachment. So we did have a few questions. You're more than welcome to take a look at that during your perusal. So next, what we have is number 5. Recognition school spotlights, and without further ado, Foothill High School, led by school principal, Mr. Bull, and others. Welcome.
I guess Foothill's here. Good evening to you all, to the community. Oh, I had to push the button? Oh, now I do it. Good evening to the community, staff, Board of Trustees, cabinet members, and everybody in the audience here. Appreciate you being here and letting us come and spotlight Foothill High School. As can be seen, we have a very passionate crew and we love our Foothill Falcons. To do a quick few introductions, obviously my name is Sebastian Bull, principal of Foothill High School, and with me I have a few of our staff members here. Jennifer Friesen, vice principal. Walter Valencia, vice principal. Jessica Bazania, vice principal. And Karishma Parikh, who will speak in a little bit, as our ASB president, so we'll get a Karishma. Mr. Ferris, our site coordinator, is currently supervising Foothill versus Amador volleyball game, so he won't be here this evening. But tonight what we want to do is show you a few things about our campus and the amazing things that are going on at Foothill High School. We are very proud of the Foothill Falcons. This is my 9th year on campus, and I love it. It's a great place to be. I get to work with great staff and students, like your current board member up here on the podium, or on the dais. We have, as you heard, the loud crowd there. Some of them are even pictured in the audience here, or in the slide deck here. Even a shout out to Dr. Geisels with his Go Falcons banner from the football game from last year. Our staff is fully dedicated and poured into supporting our students on campus, and they get involved in all the crazy things that we do, whether it be part of the PPIE run, dress up craziness for Spirit Days, and of course the hard work every day working with our students. So we are very lucky to be a part of this Foothill community. We go through a few things today. I'll start with the academic piece, and then we'll go through some of the other parts that we'll highlight for Foothill. I get the honor of talking about our academic achievements. We put on here on the slide, is the first thing up there is the visual, is our California dashboard, which is our data from our current 2025 data. And we've made some huge strides and improvements in a lot of areas, which will be highlighted in a second. Obviously, we do recognize that we've made some huge improvements, but there are still some subgroups and some areas we need to focus on, and that's the hard work that we do every day to help our students and our staff do that on campus. One thing that we have been focusing on this last few years, working with the curriculum or teaching and learning department, is focusing on explicit instructional practices and strategies. And our staff, especially led by our awesome integration and intervention specialists, have done a great job of supporting our staff. And we've taken part in lots of learning walks around our campus, had other people come and visit our campus to learn from each other, to learn about some great instructional practices. And you can see this great growth that's going on in terms of our professionals on campus and the impact it's having on our students. Just a few things to highlight. Obviously, we have our AP data. A lot of our students take AP courses. We had over 2,000 students, or 2,000 tests taken. Our passage rate last year was 94% on AP tests, with 884 being scholars, which is 3 or higher on multiple AP tests. But that's just one part of the picture. Obviously, our students do quite well. Last year, 92% of our class of 2025 are enrolled in college this year. So that's a pretty high college acceptance and attendance rate. But the hard work, of course, is working with all of our students that we have 9 through 12. And we've made some huge strides in working with all of our students. Again, some areas to follow up on as we get going. The next thing I'm going to pass off to is Mr. Valencia to talk a little bit about one of our biggest highlights and successes we've had is working with our language learners. So I'll pass it off to Mr. Valencia. Sorry, I forgot to show this slide, but we'll keep going because of time. Mr. Valencia.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bull. So one of the things that I want to highlight is the progress that our EL population has been making. And one of the markers that we use to identify this progress is the LPAC test. So in 2024, our students made a 2.3 increase from the previous year from the LPAC, but then the last year when they took the LPAC, we made an increase of 22.2%, and 61% of our students are making adequate progress, which in the LPAC means that they're making a 1 level up progress out of the 4 levels that are in the LPAC. And then so we're reclassifying many students, and we are very proud of our EL population. Thank you.
Next up, Ms. Bazania.
All right. Oh, thank you. I'm here to talk to you about all of the amazing programs that we have on campus, and I also want to point out that we had such a hard time even picking pictures because there's so many different things that we offer on campus, and I'm just going to highlight a few of them. So starting with our arts and athletics programs, we have a very strong arts program with super dedicated students. You can see our choir and our bands up there. Our marching band frequently receives awards and recognitions at competitions. Our choir program is about to go to New York and perform at Carnegie Hall, which is very exciting. And then our sports programs are amazing. We often get highlighted because our athletes are truly student athletes, and all of our teams in this last year have had average GPAs of 3.0 or higher. Our football team won that banner in the middle you see there because they had one of the top 3 GPAs on average in the section, so we won an award for that. We offer over 100 student clubs on campus, and they have a variety of interests offered. So we have affinity groups and career interest groups, as well as service organizations. And then we also have a lot of academic teams. We have Model UN, Mock Trial, We the People, DECA, and more. Science Olympiad is up there, but all of these academic teams are highly successful. Our DECA team is going to our internationals in Atlanta this next month. Our We the People team, who were the state champions, are going to nationals in DC next month as well. So that, again, just a small section of the variety of clubs and academic teams that we offer. And the last thing I want to highlight is our campus events and wellness programs. We have so many things going on campus all the time. Tomorrow will be our multicultural club rally, and various groups will be performing there. We have a strong peer advocates program, and they do wellness weeks for our campus, and they also go into classrooms and present on various topics for our student body. We have a link crew, and they work with our 9th graders to help them assimilate into high school and work on welcoming and also just getting into used to being on a high school campus. And yeah, we also have a strong leadership program, and they do lunchtime activities on a regular basis, as well as bigger events such as Night Rally, which is also coming up next month.
Next, Ms. Friesen.
So I want to talk a little bit about inclusion, wellness, and equity at Foothill. So I oversee the special education and counseling departments, and all of these are areas that we're focusing on. Under inclusion, we have made progress from last year to this year by increasing the number of students in special ed who have general ed classes at 80% of their day or above, and 54% was last year, 69% is this year. So we're really increasing the number of students who are in special education that are actually in general education classes with support. One of the ways that we do that is through co-taught classes or supported classes. Next year we're adding 2 more. And these are classes where a general education teacher teaches alongside a special education teacher in the same class, or a paraprofessional. Next year we're adding U.S. history and earth and space science to this model. So there will be 2 teachers in the room, or a teacher and a paraprofessional, and this will increase yet again the number of students in special education that are in general education classes. So instead of having a physical science resource class, for example, we're going to have a co-taught earth and space science class that will have a special education teacher helping with the curriculum. As far as wellness initiatives, we have a wellness center like many of you have seen. It is very busy every day. We have Wellness Wednesdays. They offer different types of exposure to students for like increasing school resilience, practicing yoga, practicing how to speak in front of public, different things like that students get anxious about. We also have done just recently an inclusive classroom practices collaboration with teachers, helping teachers think about some of the ways they can help all students feel comfortable in the classroom, such as asking everyone's pronouns at the beginning of school instead of waiting for a few students to come up and tell them. Our Wellness Center program also did Confections and Connections, Guardian Gifting. Those are ways that they're reaching out to the community and senior living homes to partner with them and bring them to campus for some little treats. Regarding equity, counselors at Foothill met with all 9th and 10th grade students regarding schedule planning, which many people think is what happens all the time. People think that counselors meet with every single student all the time. That's actually a really huge accomplishment. So they're the only high school that did that. And our staff also had a collaboration for Tier 1 supports for all students, just a refresher. And our support counselor has continued to broaden her focus on outreach for students in financial need.
Karishma.
I'll be quick. Good evening. My name is Karishma Parikh, and I'm a senior at Foothill High School. Over the past 4 years, I've had the opportunity to be a part of many different parts of our campus, and I'm just one student. So for the past 3 years, I've been involved in student leadership, and this year I have the honor of serving as Foothill's ASB president. And this year I also joined our We the People competition civics team, and we'll be heading to Washington, D.C. right after spring break to compete at nationals, right after winning our state championship. And then I've also played flag football for the past 2 years, and even though I'll be the first to admit I was never the MVP, I was welcomed by the team and the coaches, and that made all the difference. I've also been a part of clubs and programs like MCC, Link Crew, Model United Nations, and Philosophy, each of which are incredibly different spaces, but they all gave me the chance to meet people and explore interests at Foothill that I didn't even know I had. So when I think about my time at Foothill, what stands out is that all of those opportunities exist for me in one place. Students can try something new, find a community, and grow in ways they might not even expect entering high school. And looking at everything I've been lucky enough to be a part of, I know I'm just one example of that at Foothill. Thank you.
And I know we're over time, but we get to now celebrate some awesome Falcons. You had a chance to see some pictures of a lot of our Falcons. But now we're going to have a few to be recognized, so the board is coming to be line up here. We're going to go through our students first, and then our staff members to follow. So if first I could have Lila come and join me up here, Lila Hoban. Lila was nominated, her certificate says, is proudly presented to Lila Hoban in recognition of her exceptional sense of responsibility. Lila demonstrates consistent integrity, thoughtfulness, and respect in all aspects of school life. She approaches her commitments with care, completes her work independently and reliably, and supports her peers through kindness and collaboration. Lila is a standout member of the leadership class, and her maturity and positive influence make her a role model for others and a shining example of responsibility. Everybody, Lila Hoban. Next up is Genesis Safford. This certificate is proudly presented to Genesis Safford in recognition of her outstanding sense of responsibility and dedication to Foothill High School community. As a president of the Black Student Union, an active participant in cheer and competitive dance, she models responsibility by organizing events, supporting her peers, and contributing thoughtfully to her classes. Her commitment to going above and beyond her academics as well as extracurriculars makes her an exemplary member and leader in the Foothill community. Congratulations, Genesis. And next we have Bruce Wallace. This is proudly presented to Bruce Wallace in recognition of his outstanding sense of responsibility and commitment to Foothill High School community. Bruce consistently demonstrates reliability, support, and care for others, stepping up to help peers and contribute positively in the classroom environment. His willingness to encourage and assist those around him reflects his genuine character, strong work ethic, and dedication to being a responsible and supportive member of the Foothill community. Everybody, Senior Bruce Wallace. All right, now our staff. Jennifer Kelly. In recognition of Jennifer Kelly's exceptional sense of responsibility and her many years of dedicated service to Foothill High School, Her reliability, integrity, and commitment have consistently supported the success of students, staff, and the broader school community. In the 24-25 school year, she stepped up to serve as ASB advisor, where she oversees leadership, students in the planning of school events and campus improvements, and she goes above and beyond to create meaningful and engaging experience for staff. Her dedication, initiative, and care for others are exemplary, true responsibility, and action. So here you go, Jennifer. Next up is Namchi Vu. Namchi, for being a caring teacher and involved Falcon community member. Namchi is generous with his time and offers to supervise activities outside the school day. He may have never missed a school dance so far. He pours himself into supporting the Multicultural Club, MCC, and is always present to help support the club and their school side events and the students traveling to other schools to share their talents. Mr. Vu is a passionate teacher who has been integral in the development and implementation of the Ethnic Studies course in our district and works closely with other teachers to refine the curriculum to create a rich learning experience for all of our students. Namchi Vu. And last but not least, Bridget Halling. Bridget is our school registrar. She's hardworking, caring, detail-oriented, and fun to work with. Bridget works very long hours to ensure all new students are welcome with the resources they need, including a class schedule, a student buddy to show them around, instructions on setting up their Google accounts, and more. She's also responsible for making sure all the teachers enter grades, the process of adding community college and outside courses to transcripts, all school records, and much more. She is precise, ethical, and collaborative. Her high-stakes job never ends, and neither does her commitment to helping make Foothill a place students thrive. Congratulations, Bridget. Picture for everybody. All right.
All right, if you guys can line up. And Sebastian, Jen, Walter, Jessica, come up, please. Take a picture with your team. And I do not need to tell this group to move around. Look at them. All the picture takers are up. Awesome. All right, wait, one more. Miss Lenita Villasenor will take the official picture after more parent pictures. All right, Lenita. All right. All right, another hand for the Foothill Falcons.
Okay, so moving along on the agenda, the next section is another standing item. We have reports from our Employee Association presidents. The president for the California School Employee Association is not here, and we have no other spokesperson, so we will not hear from CSEA tonight. However, APT, if we have Association of Pleasanton Teacher, do we have Evan Branding here tonight? I thought I saw him. So I guess he can't be in two places at once. So if we don't have a spokesperson for APT, seeing none, okay, so then we will move on to the next section of the agenda, which is public comment. And just a reminder, public comment is designated for 3 minutes. We do have a timer, and when you see it winding down to the 10-second mark, we are asking that you summarize your comments. There are other ways to communicate with the board via our board email as another way to follow up. And also, just because of the Brown Act, standard protocol is trustees do not respond directly to any public comments. However, staff may respond, or a request from a trustee may be made to get follow-up information. But in general, what we try to do is to keep the ease of the meeting going on. But that said, we do address public comment in other ways as well. We also established a new tracker this year in which we make every effort to respond individually to anyone who comes for public comment. So with that stated, we're going to open it to public comment. Do we have anyone for public comment? Okay, I'm going to open it up to anyone in the audience. If you would like to come up, feel free to come and speak and fill out a comment card afterwards. Certainly we don't want to cause any delay. So if you could just introduce yourself, and then we will let you speak, and then you can fill out a comment card afterwards.
Absolutely.
So welcome.
Thank you. I was here a little late, otherwise I would have filled one out earlier. Dan Douglas, that finance guy, as you'll come to probably know me by. So I want to start by reiterating my challenge with the predictability of the numbers here in this district. Predictability really is an executive and a board's best friend. If you don't have predictability, you can't make informed decisions. Instead, you resort to emotional decisions and reactive decisions, which personally, that's where I see where we're currently at. On the subject of predictability, though, and regarding salary planning, which is an easy one to kind of pick apart, the unaudited actuals report from 2024-2025 stated, and I quote, "Moving forward, the staff will implement best practices to verify the accuracy of budget development and better monitor the budget, ensuring that any variances are identified early and addressed." So I want to take that quote and call out that during the board meeting 2 weeks ago, there was a question asked about a nearly $4 million variance in our salary planning versus budget, by the way, not versus first interim, but versus budget. The answer was that that variance is driven by an increase in sick leave, which is a trend that we're now seeing but has been happening since around the COVID time. That's not verbatim, forgive me, that's not a direct quote. That's the gist of the answer that was given, though. I do have a few items that I want to get into with that, though. Number one, when did we realize that this was an issue, if it's been happening since COVID? That makes me believe that we're lacking in our financial controls. These are the kind of things that you see if you're doing a month-over-month variance, a quarter-over-quarter variance, a year-over-year variance. Pick any period-over-period variance. You start to see those trends by taking every single line item in the GL and looking at your amounts period over period. You see these trends a little bit earlier on by doing something like that before they become a problem. There was also a comment in response to a variance question that was, I believe, along the lines of, as time goes by and we gain more data, the assumption was meant to be that predictability would become greater with those two pieces, time and data. I do have a question, though. How much more time do we need, and how much more data do we need? This district has been around for quite a long time. All of that data already exists. The trends exist. So if we take a second look at it and we dive into the numbers, I'm sure that we will see these things and be more proactive with them. That's all I'm going to say. So thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thomas Choi.
Great, thank you. Good evening, my name is Thomas Choi. I'm here tonight to present a community accountability report regarding how PUSD unrestricted funds are actually being spent. I personally met with the superintendent on March 10th to confront specific failures in district operations. I even offered to volunteer my professional time and expertise to help this district find solutions to this crisis. Beyond that, I have addressed this board during public comment on numerous occasions. Despite these repeated warnings and my offers for assistance, there is still no accountability for this district executives who drained our reserves and led us into a $9 million deficit this year. The administrator continues to mention the same old tired claims, so I'm here tonight to address those excuses with documented facts that are summarized on this document. The district characterizes massive budget variances as nothing more than one-time omissions. The reality is found in a March 17, 2026 report from the SCMAT, a California state agency that performed a comprehensive review of our district. It actually tells a much darker story. The report shows a $5 million administrative failure from last year was repeated again this year, creating a cumulative $10 million deficit. A failure caused by complete omission of non-positional costs, which are daily operational expenses for substitutes and overtime. Even though those costs are a predictable part of running a school district, they are simply left out of the budget. The solution was identified years ago. As far back as 2023, board documents identified digital timesheets as critically necessary to stop these errors. Yet years later, they are still not rolled out district-wide. Furthermore, this FCMAT review highlights the alarming move last year of transferring $11 million from the sale of district property of Vineyard Avenue into the reserves to hide the deficit. The board and district executives claim that they are victims of declining enrollment and that management expenditures decreased by 16%. However, this claim is fundamentally at odds with staffing data. Since 2018, student enrollment has plummeted 10%, yet during that same period, the district office staff actually increased by 21.3%. Regarding management expenditures, a furlough day is not a pay cut. It's a temporary time off. While student-facing jobs are being slashed, the executive cabinet remains eligible for significant raises. For example, the assistant superintendent of HR is scheduled for a pay increase of $8,146, bringing the total base salary to $254,799 on July 1st, 2026. Compensation for our district executives exceed $300,000 per year, yet district hides these raises in the official budget report by stating, quote, no increased compensation other than salary schedule step movements. This strategic statement is more than misleading. It is a potential legal violation. Hiding executive raises while claiming a fiscal emergency may constitute a breach of the board's fiduciary duty to the taxpayer and a violation of state transparency laws. I've also raised serious legal concerns regarding the district's use of state-restricted LCAP funds to cover general operational expenses and the persistent lack of publicly available meeting minutes. The board has stated on multiple occasions that it is painful to make these 76 cuts to student-facing positions. However, the facts show that what seems really painful is the board to fulfill its actual fiduciary duty and hold our district executives accountable. If the board is unwilling tonight to freeze executive pay and hold the people who got us into this financial mess accountable, we must take this to the county. Because if you don't act now, we will be forced to repeat these same painful cuts again next year. Since the district is under negative certification, the Alameda County Office of Education has the power to intervene. The executive cabinet contracts contain specific clauses regarding equity with teaching staff.
Can you please wrap it up? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, do we have any other public comment? Okay, I'm going to open it one more time for anyone else in the audience. Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to the next agenda item is message from the board. This is a new agenda item that we just added recently. Typically, each meeting will have one trustee speak on behalf of the board and on a rotation basis. But I will be speaking once again this week because of a couple items to address related to recent items, including last week the State of the District was held at the Firehouse on St. Patrick's Day, and the Pleasanton Weekly just published an article today which summarizes a lot of key points that were addressed on that day. Headline is An Opportunity to Improve. Geisel shares optimistic outlook in the State of the District despite ongoing budget crises. And during that day, several topics were addressed: declining enrollment, depleted reserves, bond-funded projects, among some other items. This is an annual event, and the board would like to give a special thank you to PUSD, all staff, trustees who were able to attend, PPIE staff, and others who were able to come from the community. who spent a significant amount of time preparing for the event and then kicking off the event. And it seems in general that the interview panel was a new format with positive reception. So next, we'd like to pivot a bit on a more serious topic. From a colleague of ours, Dr. Rachel Cobb, who is a program manager at ACOE, recently stated, DEI is not a trend. It is the intentional work of designing systems where students thrive, educators are empowered, and communities are honored and respected. In other words, DEI, which stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion, is not optional. It is embedded in our laws, policies, and accountability structures. It reflects what is essential and just in education as well. Every student deserves meaningful access, real opportunities, and a deep sense of belonging. So let's take a look a little back into history. Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka is a landmark decision of the U.S. Supreme Court which ruled that U.S. state laws establishing racial segregation in public violate the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, even if segregated facilities are equal in quality. This is a landmark decision. This was partially overruled with the court's 1896 decision, Plessy versus Ferguson. Mind you, that was 130 years ago, which held that racial segregation laws were constitutional as long as the facilities for each race were equal, a doctrine that came to be known as separate but equal. The court's unanimous decision on Brown and its related cases have paved the way for integration and was a major victory for our civil rights movement. So I will continue to get to my point. This isn't just a history lesson, but the point is challenges with equity and race has been a problem for hundreds of years. Hundreds of years. Just today, with the California School Board Association, Vernon M. Billy, who is the CEO and Executive Director for the California School Boards Association, announced SOS for student achievement, close the state accountability gap legislative package. And what this means is that there are 4 bills to the Assembly and a concerted effort to deal with the approval of these 4 Assembly bills that basically states that California as a state is running behind on these issues. And this shows a unified effort from legislation to embrace a coherent and shared accountability approach that will support our education, or also known as LEAs, and help drive local efforts to accelerate overall student achievement for our students and to help close the achievement gap. So where do we go from now? I would like to bring it back to here for PUSD. We as the PUSD board hear you, and we will not wait any longer to do this. We need to continue to work together with each parent, each family, and each student to help support our equity work. And we will continue to do so. And that is the message of the board for tonight. Sorry. With that, it's the superintendent's report.
Thank you. It's an important act to follow. Well said. You know, we recognize that decisions regarding layoffs are extremely impactful and tough on our valued members of our schools and community, our teachers and staff. I want you to know that we remain committed to open dialogue and continuing to engage with our parents, with our teachers, with our team, with the board, with our community as we move forward. I think it's important to step back at this time and look at a broader context and get a little bit of elevation on this. We are not simply managing a budget here. We can point to factoids and certain things, but the bigger picture here is not just managing a budget. We are responding to a unique and dramatic broader demographical shift. This is affecting school districts across California, especially here in the Bay Area. California has lost more than 500,000 students since the late teens, with projections of another 1 million by 2030. That's 4 years from now, that's it. Birth rates have declined by approximately 25% since the aughts, 25%. We receive our revenue from enrollment combined with attendance. This is how we generate income to pay for everybody, which is 90% of all of our expenditures. In the Bay Area alone, many districts have seen enrollment decline of roughly 10 to 20% over the past decade, in part because of high costs, as well, again, declining birth rates. Families not only are having fewer kids, they're moving away. Here's a stunning little economic denominator here. Locally graduating classes are around 1,100 to 1,200 students. That's how many people, that's how many of our students graduate from Amador, Foothill, and Village. While incoming kindergarten has declined from 800 coming in to roughly 530 students as of today for 2026-27, contributing to a structural decline in student enrollment that quite frankly dwarfs any other variable. Since 2018-19, PUSD has lost approximately 2,000 students. We are not alone. Every single district, more locally in Alameda County, has had declining enrollment. For us, that represents $24 million in ongoing revenue, as state funding is driven by attendance, like I said. We currently project to lose another 1,400 students in the next 7 years. With costs continuing to rise, especially in high-cost regions like ours, this creates a structural imbalance. It's very difficult on our people, on our team members, because things are going up. Have you gone to the gas station lately? It's tough. So we're flattening out, not flattening out, but declining in revenue as things are going up. So tonight, flipping it, we are going to give a presentation of revenue generation. We've talked about this in fits and starts. We're going to talk about a whole schedule, get your directions for going forward, and additionally, we're going to hear from FCMAT, the state's fiscal crisis management team, and they're going to give us a report on a very stringent, due diligent look at our systems, which I'm looking forward to because it will give us more opportunity to continue to improve our financial systems. So with that, I'd like to just lighten up a little bit and talk about some of the more fun things that have gone on. The state of the district, you said it really well. It was fun. It was different than ours. I think theirs was more marketing, strong in terms of message. I think ours was more authentic and genuine, and we really hit questions that people wanted to have answer. So also, I just talked about the state of the city, and then student experience in the community. One of the recent highlights was I got to observe and participate with Noodles and Notes, and Patrick D'Andrea is like unbelievable in terms of his willingness to bring our musicians together, our students. You know, it's funny, I didn't realize this, but the high school teachers hang out with the middle school teachers during concerts, and they actually articulate and talk about the students coming up. And at that particular case, students at Amador were working the event and talking to students. And I'm telling you, I've said this, it's worth saying 100 times. I think, I know our middle school musicians are better than most high schools in California. I mean, it's really a unicorn. It's phenomenal. I can't talk about that enough. And then also this week we're launching the ad hoc group for equity and inclusion. Deputy DeLazzo is doing that, and I see we have some strong leaders in there. Sarah Knox, David Sprague, and Josh Butterfield are going to head it out this week. I'm going to be at Vintage Hills. It was Vintage Hills last week. This week coming up, I think it's this week, is PMS. Just to let you know, too, we had a really good FCC meeting, and one of the follow-ups to that is going to be, we're going to get some, if we have to eliminate the specialists ultimately, we're getting some teacher reps from specialists to look at bell schedules, which are really complex. Talk about flipping it in political advocacy. I am attending the CASBO conference, which for you out there is all the business leaders and superintendents. Many of them I'm presenting with Mike Johnson, the superintendent of Ceres, which is a substantive district, the superintendent of Fremont, and Zach Larson, and Buckeye Superintendent David Larson, and we're going to be presenting on how tough it is when our base is so low. And I get to do the anecdotal testimonial things of what it's actually like. So also coming up, open house season begins this week. We have a tour set. Thank you for your time. The board is going to have a board meeting on a bus on May 5th to go check out all the construction sites again. And tomorrow I'm going to attend the Foothill High School Multicultural Assembly, which you heard about tonight. And then we're going to play in the Battle of the Bands at PMS on the night of April 15th, Wednesday, as well as perfect timing. We're playing with the Foothill Falcons Jazz Band. So come to Noni's, it's a blast. And finally, I just want to say this is the last board meeting we have before the spring break. I hope spring will spring again and the kids will be out with spring fever. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Geisels. So next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are typically routine in nature, and if you take a look at the agenda, it is broken down into the various departments. For example, Section A is Human Resources, Section B is Business Services, and so forth. What I'm going to do before I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda, I'm going to open this item for public comment. So if there's anyone in the audience that would like to come up, speak on any of the items on consent, you're more than welcome to come up now. Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment, and I am looking for a motion, unless if there's a particular item that a trustee would like to pull for discussion or questions.
I move to approve consent.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made by Trustee Jones, seconded by Trustee Brown. Preferential vote from Trustee Gorsuch.
Aye.
And all other trustees.
Aye.
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 And aye. Motion passes 4-0, 1 absent, and preferential vote from Trustee Gorsuch. All right. With that, we're moving along to the next agenda item, which is report discussion and discussion/action. A is report discussion for an update to the district literacy program. You have 15 minutes allotted. Who is the speaker?
I'll introduce this one.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Dialazzo.
Yes, thank you, President McCaughey. So we have a team here to talk about our district literacy program. We're super excited to talk about the program, going from instruction to assessment to intervention. And this was presented to the Curriculum and Instruction Committee and was well received and well reviewed and had some great questions. So we're excited to present it tonight. And so David Schrag, our Director of Elementary Education, will start it off. And please introduce your team, Mr. Schrag.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dialazzo. Again, I'm very pleased to be here to share some of the progress that we have made for literacy, and want to introduce an amazing team that I work with. And to my right here is Amanda Sirachi, who is an intervention specialist at Leidixon Elementary, and also Sarah Knox, who is our coordinator of curriculum instruction and assessment, who will be joining me with this presentation. And then Sarah's going to be doing our slides. Great. So we're going to start off with a basic overview of kind of the systems and an overview of kind of how the literacy system works and what we've been able to develop. And then we'll move to drilling down to some of the really kind of impressive pieces of those systems and how we're really making sure that we're reaching all students and making sure that students are being successful in making progress in literacy. And then share a little bit about our early indicators of growth. So we want to share those three pieces. If we go to the next slide. want to give a little bit of explanation on kind of the impetus and why we're here and why we've changed. I want to start with kind of some of the general shifts in the state in terms of the expectations. The state in the last 4 or 5 years has really put a lot of resources, time, and energy into supporting literacy, both with accountability systems and with resources. That includes a reading screener for all California schools, along with a lot of support for teacher development, for curriculum and instruction. But the other big piece is also we know more than we ever have before about what it takes to teach students to read. The body of research that we now have that kind of really explains it, it's not a mystery anymore. So it's very exciting. It's a very exciting time that we know that with the structured literacy programs that we now have, we can really target students to know exactly what they need and support them when they need it. So with that, the state has provided, again, a lot of support, but also a lot of accountability and expectation for what districts need to do in terms of making sure we adopt and improve of high quality materials, but also getting very effective assessments and also making sure we have really developed intervention systems. And we'll go on to the next slide. So we want to just highlight our Pleasanton vision for literacy. And again, this is something that we develop and make sure these are the really critical components, the big kind of rocks as far as making sure that we have a developed system that is not letting any students slip through the cracks. We know that what we teach is incredibly important. We want to make sure that we have very consistent and coherent curriculum. We want to make sure that curriculum is well researched and vetted by experts, and then it's implemented with lots of integrity. We also want to make sure our teachers are highly trained and making sure that they're using evidence-based instructional strategies. That's really important to make sure our teaching force is up on the latest techniques. And again, I know that I am super proud of our staff who continues to learn and get better every single year and every single day in what they do. And I want to also highlight the assessments. We're going to be speaking about the assessment system that we have in Pleasanton a little later on in the presentation. That's been exceptional and really is something that we're very, very proud of in terms of the consistency and the coherence by which it's delivered. And then again, we want to continuously monitor both every student, but also the system itself to make sure anytime we're having data that's showing we're not making good progress, that we're doing something about it and we're making tweaks, we're iterating, and we're developing every time we see any data that we want to address. And with that, go into the next piece. Actually, there's one more that I have here. Just to kind of put that into context, those 4 major components, this is nothing groundbreaking or earth-shattering. These are the major components of a really successful literacy system. We want to make sure, again, our staff are highly trained. We want to make sure the instruction the curriculum they're using is consistent and high quality. We want to make sure we have great assessments, and we want to make sure that students are getting support when they need it. Again, this is that cycle or that kind of idea of like it's continually being improved, and there's a cycle of inquiry and improvement consistently every year. And now I will give a chance to pass it over to Ms. Knox.
Good evening. So next in our efforts and our initiatives to support literacy, we have been following the state guidance with a preschool through 3rd grade alignment and making sure that we are ensuring that all of our students experience literacy success by the time they reach 3rd grade, because all of the research tells us that that's really the key touch point for students to be able to be successful, not just later in their educational careers, but in life and in their futures. So we have been using the state's tool to guide us in this P3 coherence. We have a team of preschool teachers, TK teachers, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade teachers that we meet regularly with, not just here, but also at the county level, to be able to network and learn about how we can better align our instruction across those grade spans. So the state has provided progressions that show you what each of the domains of literacy look like, starting all the way with 3-year-olds in preschool up through 3rd grade. And it's very helpful to be able to calibrate ourselves and work with teachers around that. And so the 5 domains that these progressions cover are social, emotional, important, right? We have to lay that foundation so students feel that sense of belonging, language and literacy, cognitive, math, and motor skills. And they really help us to make sure that students are experiencing those playful and inquiry-based offerings in the early years that they are in our system, and then that they develop that mastery and proficiency in the standards for California and those Common Core standards as they move through third grade. So now I'm going to toss it to, we're going to go from sort of that big lens of all of the grades from preschool through third grade, and we're going to really talk about focusing just on foundational skills and how we're going to make sure that we have that strong foundational reading platform for all students. And I'm going to toss it to Amanda, one of our practitioners, who is not only an expert in supporting students with intervention, but she's one of our lead trainers for teaching all of our teachers about literacy.
Thank you. Letters is one of the trainings that we use to really bring the science of reading to Pleasanton, and then that started in the year 2000, and we have known about these 5 pillars that you see on the slide that were identified by the National Reading Panel. Sorry, did I say the year? That was in the year 2000. We started our letters training in 2020. Sorry about that. And what letters provides us is the interdisciplinary body of research. Think linguistics, cognitive science, education and behavioral science and implementation science, and it's about how the brain learns to read. It's not just what are the areas that students need to develop, but how do we develop that in the classroom. And so it's a rigorous 2-year course, it's a graduate level course, and we've had 180 teachers gone through our training. We've had 8 cohorts. It's been really successful and really well received. The next slide highlights a couple of other things about it. We've really focused on K2 teachers, TK2 teachers. A few other teachers have been part of that learning process as well, such as resource teachers in middle school. So we've had great participation, and having the in-house Pleasanton trainers has really made a difference, and I've been honored to be part of that process. This slide shows you that with that foundation of letters and what we know for those best practices and the scientific research that we need to know about to then do the best teaching in the classroom, we learned about that, and then we have the best tools for that, which UFly came from our letters learning. We really needed a phonics program that was systematic. We have our benchmarks phonics, and then we have Hegarty. So with those tools, we can implement the best learning in the classroom, and then M-Class is our assessment platform that allows us to know if what we're doing is making a difference, and if it's not, what do we need to do to change our instruction and meet the needs of those students. And then this shows some of the components that you see in our UFly adoption that really makes the learning not just engaging, but really effective. Those students are part of the process in building that knowledge about our literacy, spelling, reading, writing, everything.
So the teachers have the training, they have the curriculum, instructional materials to be able to support the implementation of the training that they receive, and then that third key component is assessing what students are learning, and are they responding to that targeted instruction and the instructional materials that they're provided. So like I said later, it takes 4 times as long to intervene with 4th graders as it does in late kindergarten. So our focus here has been early intervention, prevention, and when we have our intervention specialists and our reading intervention support specialists, the IS and the RIS, they are working with students as early as possible to catch them really before they experience that failure or difficulty with their reading. So we have those targeted, well-designed interventions, and the research tells us that with all of these tools that it can lead to 90% or more of our students to reach proficiency with reading. So this is our universal screening and early identification process. And again, our assessment system that we're using is M-Class Dibbles, and Dibbles has been around for a long time, but now M-Class is the platform that makes it a lot more teacher-friendly and easy for us to take a look at data and look at that data with the grade level teachers. And we're going to talk a little bit later about that process that we do for the process that we use for having those conversations. So the point is that it's a universal screener. We give it to all students 3 times a year. Some students receive progress monitoring in specific skills and areas as frequently as 2 weeks, some students every 3 weeks, and that is again done by the reading intervention support specialist and the intervention specialist to make sure that students that we are monitoring their response to interventions that they're receiving on a regular basis. This assessment system also aligns with that new dyslexia screening law, or the reading intervention, or the reading difficulty risk screener law. And it generates instructional recommendations for teachers as well. So it can say to the teacher, here are all the students that need help with this specific skill, and here are some instructional lessons and activities that you can do with them. So this is what the assessment looks like. We wanted to just give you a little sense of what it looks like. I'm going to let Amanda speak to the experience of how we go about assessing the students, and we just have some pictures. There she is right there. Along with the rest of the team, you want to speak a little bit about how we assess all of the students.
Sure. Each assessment is just 1 minute. It goes really, really quickly. Depending on the grade of the student that we're assessing, there are different strands. So, for example, in kindergarten, we need to assess 5 different measures, and in first grade, we need to assess 7 different measures. So it happens really quickly because each one of those pieces of data we collect in 1 minute. We're calibrate, so our team is really effective, and we know that we're marking those assessments consistently across that entire team, and we know that that data is valid because of that work we do as calibration ahead of time. So it's a really quick, I call it the Dibbles factory. It's super effective and very, very valid.
And when we think about how our students perform on these assessments, ideally in a healthy multi-tiered system of support, 80% of our students would be successful and with their composite score on those benchmarks. So in the middle or the beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year, we would see at least 80%. It's normal and understandable to have 15% of students need a little extra scoop, and about 5% of your students needing a couple of extra scoops in order to get them to proficiency. So this would be an indicator of a healthy system. Beyond that, for students who start out the year at benchmark or above, the expectation is that 95% of those students would persist and stay at or above grade level in order to have a healthy system. We don't want to see students dip or fall below benchmark because they are not getting support that they need at the classroom level or other areas as well. And so we screen so that we can determine who receives that additional support and what skills that we need to target. So the reason that we screen is twofold. Once again, it's to look and see, is our tier 1 healthy, and do we need to do things at the classroom level or the grade level, the whole grade level, or as a system, and also what specific students need that targeted support at the tier 1 and tier 2 level. And this is an example, a picture, again, Amanda is our nice model for these photos. So this is an example of students who are receiving that tier 2 intervention. And you want to talk a little bit about what that looks like?
Sure. We determine these students. We'll get to that process when we talk about data talks. And the whole grade level is determined which students are going to get that intervention, what we're calling tier 2 intervention. But what's wonderful and helps us know with confidence that we're making an impact is because our Pleasanton teachers have that foundational knowledge from their letters training. We know that we have the valid data to determine what we need to work on with those students. They're getting it in the classroom. They're getting it with their classroom teacher for intervention, and then they might be also getting that extra scoop Sari was just talking about when they come to the intervention classroom. So we know that we have that coherence because of those foundations for our Pleasanton teachers and students.
So we talked earlier about how we have, we are at time. Let us know how to proceed.
Keep going.
Okay.
Just wrap it up. Thank you. Keep going.
Thank you. Thank you, President McCaughey. So as we spoke to earlier, we have data talks to provide that coherence across sites around that problem-solving approach. So when we look at the data 3 times a year, we do the same process at every single school with every single grade level. And so that process looks like a grade level team taking a half day along with the intervention specialist and the principal or vice principal, and we sit and we look at the data and we go through the same protocol at all of the different sites. We identify the students at risk, we make adjustments to Tier 1 instruction, and then we assign interventions at the classroom level and then also in a pull-out or push-in model. So we just talked about that. So this is what the protocol looks like. And again, we are consistently and continuously refining that protocol based on teacher feedback, based on facilitator feedback, but we all use the same protocol to ensure that we have coherence and consistency across the sites. And so then the last question is it working? And David, do you want to take over these ones here?
I do, and thank you for allowing us to finish. Early results is very strong in terms of the data, and again, this is a system that has really just been implemented in terms of the UFly implementation along with the data talks that's really been refined. But we're seeing a significant improvement for our students at that K1 and 2 level in terms of their students, less students who are in intensive needs, but also teachers reporting to us, again, they're seeing a lot more improvement with students decoding skills. And again, with that implementation of UFly, I walk through classrooms all the time and I see UFly being implemented, and with that fidelity, and it's really shown great progress. And again, in terms of the data, we see here that there is growth and movement of our students who are less and less students who are in those intensive red and yellow categories and higher levels of blue and green students, which meaning when we want to set a student up for success, they're literate and reading on grade level by K in first and second grade. That is really the key and the preventive measure that's going to set everything in motion. So as far as what's next, just wanted to give a couple quick little ideas of what's happening. We're so excited that we're in the kind of developing stages of our pilot process with our K through 5 ELA curriculum, and we hope we will be bringing to you a recommendation from our teachers. We've had a great teacher panel piloting 2, and we're down to 2 final publishers. Very excited to have that finally implemented. And again, that idea of having coherence and a single curriculum that we can all work from is huge. Again, that idea where we have those 4 major parts of our system. The curriculum is this one piece that we're finalizing. And again, we will continue to refine. And again, I want to send a huge shout out to our amazing teaching staff and our intervention specialists and all of the team here in RISs, all of them who have been instrumental in making sure that we're catching kids early. And again, if you talk about the heart of a district in terms of academic success, literacy, this is it. And so we want to make sure that this is absolutely kind of airtight as far as the system we developed, and a huge thank you to the staff who have done that. So excuse us for going over, and we will now take any questions.
Okay, I will turn it back to the board. Trustees, questions? Yes, Trustee Walker.
Okay, 180 teachers you said have gone through. Okay, are we going? That's a lot. Are we going to? Are we expanding it anymore? Are we going to try and capture greater participation?
Right now, we have our 8th cohort. They're taking their last in-person part of the training. There's components to this. They do some online learning. They have a textbook, and then they come for some in-person to kind of calibrate together all that learning. So they come for the last one. They'll be done with their 2-year course, and then it's up to funding. I have heard there might be some state funding for structured literacy training, so I'm personally hopeful that if we do pause, it's not for long. I hope to stay current on my facilitator certificate so I can continue to be available when we can continue to train teachers, whether that's in letters or another format. Sorry, I answered.
One other thing is we want to point out that we have an opportunity with the county to train some more in-house trainers, and I cannot tell you how important it's been for our teachers or IIS's in-house people who have been our trainers. They know the experience of our teachers. The teachers know that these guys have incredible credibility with having kind of walked in their shoes. So that has been a huge, successful kind of key component of the success of the Letters program, is having people like Amanda and other classroom folks be in front of us. So.
Yes, thank you. Yes, definite bonus plus. Thank you for all you do. And then you talked about the progress monitoring, how it's conducted. Like, so when someone is identified as needing intervention, or is it like you mentioned 2 weeks and 3 weeks with the DIBELS? Is it DIBELS? DIBELS. Can you just go explain how adjustments are made using the data for those intervention?
Well, the expert. Okay. I'm so glad I'm here. As Sarah said, we monitor progress. Some students fall in what we call a well below benchmark category. We monitor their progress more frequently, at least every 2 weeks. Then we have another category based on DIBELS, well below. Those are the students maybe we monitor every 3 weeks. So in collecting that data, the dashboard is a great place to look at how are they going. The DIBELS and M-Class dashboard predicts what's possible based on their starting point. So then the progress monitoring data is either on that trend line or not. And when we analyze that data, we can see, oh, they could have made this growth that the dashboard predicted based on their starting line. We need to adjust what we're doing. And that can sometimes just look like me within my intervention group, but often I get with that grade level team and I say, something's not working. It's either the frequency, it might be the tool that I'm using, and it might be just the dynamic of the group. And I get feedback from those grade level teachers of the students I'm working with, and we make adjustments. And we don't wait for data talks to do that. And I know all sites are like that. We really are in real time kind of checking, because we don't want to spin our wheels and not be making a difference. And then another piece of our progress monitoring, sometimes it's what teachers are working on in their classroom, and it's not tier 2 with me, it's tier 2 with the teachers. The teachers are not all teachers are yet using the tool themselves. So I will still monitor the progress. For example, there were certain students we identified in first grade on a certain skill, and I monitored those 10 students every other week and provided the teachers with that data. And it helped motivate them to know if the interventions they were doing in the classroom was working or not. And we got to celebrate that at our most recent data talk, and all those students met benchmark.
Wow.
Sorry.
Oh, wow. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that response. Thank you. That's all.
Trustee Brown.
So the slide that caught my attention most was, let's see, which one was it? It was the one that said that, here, this one. It takes 4 times as long to intervene in 4th grade as it does in late kindergarten, right? I mean, that in itself kind of summarizes the presentation in my mind, right? One of the questions I had at the back of my mind is, like, would you say that the remote learning that everyone tried to do, and have we gotten past that bubble at this point in terms of the matriculation of some of the reading difficulties that we introduced as a result of trying to do everything over Zoom during the pandemic and so on? Would you say we're past that and now we're pushing back down the line? The other numbers that caught my attention was the comparison. Obviously the N, or the number of students, is drastically different, but the slide 25 in terms of the beginning of year, middle of year composite scores, if those well below and so on, I mean, that's tremendously different than the national average. And I was just curious from a state perspective, how do we compare? So I embedded a lot of questions in there. You can go at it however you want.
Yeah, so I think nature is healing to a degree, and the students who were in kindergarten or first grade during the pandemic are now really in middle school. Those students, what we see with students coming in now, our youngest learners, is they were babies or toddlers, during the pandemic, and there's definitely still some phonological awareness, I would say, or phonemic awareness, and some speech things that we're seeing that, and speech pathologists will could tell you all about it. There are some idiosyncrasies that have emerged from the pandemic, but definitely the fact that the students that we have in second grade right now have had UFly and that foundational explicit direct instruction in foundational skills in person with the teacher puts those students at a huge advantage, and those students are blowing it out of the water in terms of their performance across our schools, I would say. So that answers the first question. We are well above the state average for literacy here in Pleasanton, but that doesn't mean that we rest on those laurels. We, as she just alluded to, for every single student, there's not a single one that falls through the cracks here. I've sat in so many data teams meetings where we have talked about every single student that's below or far below grade level and have a clear plan to make sure that they reach proficiency by the end of the year.
Yeah, and then as the percentages get smaller, it's possible to even spend more time, more focus. That's the great thing that I see. So thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I don't have any questions, just comments, so I'll save mine. So what we're going to do right now is open this item for public comment. If there's anyone in the audience, anyone that would like to come up and speak on this item, you're more than welcome to come up now. Okay, closing public comment. So now what we're going to do is concluding comments, and this is just a report, not an action item, correct? Okay. All right, so there will be no motion. So concluding comments before we move on to the next item. Yes, Trustee Jones.
I'm on curriculum instruction, which is why I had no questions, because you answered my ridiculous amount of questions already, and I didn't want to waste your time again. So I just want to say I appreciate the work that you're doing. This is critical. I deal with, at the high school level, very similar literacy issues. So I get just how important it is to do this and catch it at the lower grade level. So I just want to say I appreciate the work that you're doing.
Sorry. Other concluding comments? Trustee Walker.
I just want to say thank you. Your work is so valued, and the benchmark trends are just, they speak volumes. So I can't thank you enough, especially just thank you.
Okay. No other comments from fellow trustees? Okay, I will just make a couple comments. Just thank you very much for this presentation and your enthusiasm. I used to be on the curriculum committee in my prior work career, did a lot of curriculum work, and I just wanted to emphasize your enthusiasm. It's exploding out, and I really appreciate, we as the board appreciate that, just because that really shows that not only do you really believe in this, but you love your job. So we really thank you for that. And also, I just wanted to highlight from a presentation standpoint, I really liked how you elevated the bar in terms of the graphics, the illustrations, really had fun with it and really kept getting our attention on this. I wish this had been done sooner so that some of our trustees that have children in the district could have benefited from this work. I have an 8th grader who continues to be a struggling reader. I am a firm believer of having a strong curriculum can really impact, and that quote that was already highlighted about intervention. My daughter got intervention more specifically in 5th grade, and to the point of what research shows, it was too late. And so it really does make a big difference, and some of the things being done at the state level with the universal screening, DIBELS has been around forever, and you're right in terms of how quick it can be. It's amazing that the state has really supported the universal screening, and it's now finally to show the fruit of the efforts really coming through fruition. So kudos, great presentation, and we look forward to future updates. So thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. Okay, so next we are going to go to the next agenda item. This is actually a special agenda item from FICMAT, which is an organization that is working with the district due to our negative classification with the county. So this is report, discussion, review of the Fiscal Crisis Management Assistance Teams, also standing for FICMAT, Fiscal Health Risk Analysis Report. I do believe we have a speaker on Zoom tonight.
Yes.
And so I will pass it off to Ahmad, who's going to introduce the item. So thank you.
So we have Tammy Montero with FICMAT. She is the chief analyst with the FICMAT team, and she conducted the fiscal risk analysis that we have in the board packet, and she will run through that and answer questions. So without further ado, I'm going to turn over to Ms. Montero.
Thank you. It's very nice to see everyone this evening. I just want to give a little bit of an introduction to what the fiscal health risk analysis was that we performed, and also who FICMAT is and who we aren't. Before I start tonight, I would like to begin by thanking the district. The district was actually just gave us a tremendous welcome. There's a volume of reports that are required to complete this work, and they had it all uploaded and ready to go, which made our task at hand much easier than it usually is. So we were extremely grateful for that, and just the hospitality and how organized everything was during our 3 days when we were there on site in February for our field work. They were very thoughtful and intentional in the way that they handled this entire process. And in this process, I also got to see many things that we hope to see in districts that lots of districts across the state strive for, and we actually got to see them in action here. So we were really, really grateful for the opportunity to come into this district. So I am with the Fiscal Crisis Management Assistance Team. So we're a state organization, and we were established in around 1991 with the Richmond insolvency, meaning that district ran out of cash. And the state was tired of giving loans to school districts. And so they said, we need to try to do something to get some interventions in place, and maybe we can cut this off before this happens. And so we were invented then, and we've been around ever since. And since the beginning of our inception, we have been collecting this list of things we call the indicators of fiscal distress. And there's 20 areas. And those 20 areas happen to align today with what we use when we make this analysis for the fiscal health risk analysis. And they tie to the 20 areas that are seen in our report that you have in your board packet. And so we've always had, for many, many years, we've had a fiscal health risk analysis. In 2018, though, it became law that if a district has these 5 areas, triggers we call them, then we come in uninvited. And so another reason for my gratitude to the district is we've done many, many of these, and we're not invited in, and as such, districts mostly comply with our requests when we're there, but sometimes it's not as great as it was when we were at Pleasanton. The 5 triggers include 3 consecutive qualified certifications for your interims, a downgrade by your county office of education, a lack of going concern designation, a negative certification, which is what we had in this case, and then lastly, if you have a budget approval situation, which that's not what this was. So again, the district self-certified is negative, meaning that they may or may not meet their financial obligations for the current +1 year. The county office, County of Alameda, they concurred with this certification, and as such, we were triggered to come in and do this report. As we look at the report tonight, I don't generally prepare a PowerPoint because I really want this report to speak for itself. So I believe I have the ability to share my screen. and I will be doing that here. I wanted to be able to kind of walk you through the things that I see when I'm looking at these reports. Obviously, I was a team member, so I wrote this with my partner Elizabeth on this project. So overall, we give some background. I'm going to scroll through here. There's a summary, and these are the top 3 areas that tie to the scores, which I'd like to take you to first. So if you have computers in front of you, if the board can see this, I don't know, but this is where I'd like to start tonight. In the score breakdown by section. And so on the last page of the report, it talks about where we have the break-off points for low, moderate, or high risk. Because this district was, and you'll see on the pages previous to this one, because this district had a trigger, meaning that you met one of those 5 criteria, they're automatically going to be scored as high. But I want to bring your attention to the individual score here, which actually shows you in those 20 areas that I mentioned as being the areas that since our inception we've been kind of marking, taking notes. These are the places where districts get into trouble. And so as a measurement against this, the district falls at 25.7. So 25 is the cut point between low and moderate. So they're just a little bit in the actual score of, by this measure of moderate risk. And the top 5 areas are going to be deficit spending, fund balance, the general fund, leadership and stability, and position control. And I'll walk you through some of the reasons for that in the actual report in just a moment. All of the questions, there's about 140 some questions in this. It takes our team, we did 3 solid days of interviews. Then we go through hundreds of documents. I think that the district uploaded 400 or 500 documents for us to go through. This is no light task. That's the reason why it takes us from February until mid-March to get this thing pulled together, to go through all of our reviews and everything and make sure that we have everything factual in the report, and then we can move forward with presenting it here. But on these questions, there's a yes or a no response. If there's a yes, you'll notice, I'll scroll down to where they begin here. If there's a yes, you'll notice there's no narrative. And that means that the district is satisfactorily, we substantiated all of our concerns about the various items. If there's a no, we're going to say with an explanation what those were. So I wanted to bring your attention to those 5 areas really quickly. And the first page number is page 16. So I will go to 16 now. I'm on 13. I don't want to make anyone dizzy. So the deficit spending, just to kind of give you a kind of a rundown of what this, what the no answers look like. And so basically this is related to deficit spending in the unrestricted general fund. And so the question here is, are they avoiding deficit spending in the current +2? And then we have the answer is no. I have to remind you too, there's a discussion about what the period is that we're measuring here. This was a trigger based on first interim. I know it's extremely awkward. You've already had your second interim. You've already worked on these cuts that are discussed that need to be implemented with fidelity in this report. And I know that you're on the path to do that at this point. So it feels a little bit, after the fact, but that was the time of how we could get this presented. So please keep in mind, we are required for this report to look at this from the perspective of first interim. So everything that we did here, it's as if second interim hadn't even occurred yet. And then the next area would be under fund balance. And again, these go, I would say many of these first 3 are going to go hand in hand. If you are going to have deficit spending, you're going to have a fund balance problem and probably some issues with your general fund. And so all of those are tied to this, to similar situations. So here we see in section 12 that they're not meeting the minimum reserve at the district. I don't want to make it sound like the questions are redundant, but one is talking about in in the current year, and then the next one is talking about the 2 subsequent years, and we have those percentages in there. Remember, this is as of the first interim. And then on page 19, similar questions about how one-time funds are spent, and also ratios of unrestricted salaries and benefits. So there's a little bit of detail in there. On page 21, to scroll forward a little bit more, these questions in here, that I should also point out that the questions are weighted. So they aren't all worth, say, 1 point. If there's a question that we have learned over time leads to more risk, there's a greater score increase of risk associated with it. And in this case, there are 2 items in the leadership and stability area. One relates to training for board members, and the other one is just simply that you had some turnover in the superintendency. There's really not a lot the district can do about the turnover in that regard. And then the last area in the top five areas of the report was related to position control and how the district is utilizing position control to inform their budget. So that is it for the report. I really think that what districts that take this, I heard your superintendent and earlier in his report say that they were looking forward to this. This FHRA is a processes and procedures type of audit. Now, I said that we're from the Fiscal Crisis Management Assistance Team. We are not your internal auditors. We're an independent third-party organization. We're a state organization. So this is not your regular audit. We're different, but we are looking at processes and procedures, and that's what this is about, how we can tighten those things up so as to prevent this district from having any future fiscal solvency issues. And that was what we came in to do. And again, the district had a lot of things they were doing right. And anything on this report as a board that you're curious about, that the district is curious about, you want to try to find a way to get, if you can, any of these no's to a yes. And available to make myself a resource to the district if they need any assistance with that. Just if there's any questions about the no's or anything like that, I've had a chance to walk this through with your chief business official. And I think that we're all on the same page there. But again, available if the board has any further questions regarding everything that I've delivered here tonight, or the written materials as well.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for the presentation. It was nice to meet you in person in February, and thank you for being available tonight. I will pass it to fellow trustees for questions first. Yes, Trustee Brown.
All right. So let me get started. So if I were to step back and say, okay, the best possible score is essentially 0, correct?
Yeah, it's like a golf score. You want the lowest number possible.
Yeah, you've never seen my golf game, so hopefully my budget game is a little bit better. Yeah, so essentially, so the report on page 11 kind of highlights deficit spending, fund balance for economic uncertainty, general fund, and leadership, and position control is sort of the areas where we got the highest score. And then I think those are essentially then summed up under the material weakness questions, correct?
Material weakness are actually, I should have covered that. The material weakness are the ones that basically, when I talked about there being weighted areas, these are the questions in the overall document that are weighted the heaviest. So for example, we're more concerned about cash, because cash insolvency is kind of, the end of the road for school district solvency purposes. We're a little more worried about that than maybe perhaps facilities or, maybe, I know special education is a big topic, but if you're going to run out of cash next month, that's a bigger problem. So that's what these material weakness questions are based on. If you look at those, those start on the bottom of that PDF, page 9, and these are the more heavy topics. They're not personalized, just to answer your question, they're not personalized to your district as far as your personal, Pleasanton's personal material weaknesses. These are what we've determined as state level material weakness questions.
Okay. So then the other key takeaway is basically anything that's a no is contributing to the overall 25.7% scoring, right? I just want to zero in on a few of these just to make sure I understand. The statements around the district budgeting, spending restricted funds before unrestricted funds, and obviously the restricted percentage of ending fund balance. Those are all obviously accurate, but can you expand on that a little bit more in terms of some of the points made?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I think in the case of the, there's a couple factors at play. One, the restricted, in that time frame of the measurement, the district did receive a lot of restricted funds, new one-time monies that could only be, can be spent over a number of years. I do think that absolutely played into this. But on the other side of that, the kind of the depletion of the unrestricted, I think, was complicated by the deficit spending at the district level and in the areas that could have been maybe linked back to the sub costs, those non-positional position type expenses. Generally, you're coming out of the unrestricted general fund, which were depleting of that. At the same time that you got one-time dollars in the restricted side that were bolstered that couldn't be spent, you can't spend that for those non-positional costs. And so I think it was just a perfect storm, the way that played out. Usually when we see districts that are poorly managing the restricted funds, they're sending money back to the state because they can't spend it in time because they don't have a plan to do so. And we did not see evidence of that with this district.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was concerned about. And we've always, as a board, we've always worked closely with staff, and they've always tried to leverage the restricted funds and relieve pressure on the general fund. But this was showing as a no, and so I was wanting the commentary behind it to sort of say what more could we learn as a board in terms of, from what I've seen so far. I mean, like I said, they've always prioritized trying to move or expend restricted funds to release as much pressure on the general fund as possible. So,
right.
Okay. Can you expand on the acceptance of grants negative certification?
Sure. Acceptance of grants. So this is something that we gave the district a sample form to work through. I believe that your administration was all over it. In fact, they were excited about it. So oftentimes we will find that districts, if they don't have this grant approval form, maybe the instruction folks aren't sharing with the business folks, or perhaps not facilities or others, and a grant will be received, and without proper communication, carrying out the terms of the grant can be problematic for the district, whether from a financial standpoint, facility standpoint, staffing or personnel, so human resources can be involved as well. And so it's ideal for districts to have this form that basically says who wants this grant, what are the implications of the grant, what are the in-kind links to this grant, and then it goes through a series of departments that look at it to ensure that everyone's had a chance to say, I have reviewed this grant application and can certify that we don't have any problems supporting this from our department, whatever it takes, one way or another. And then so someone from the business office sees it before, and then the superintendent and the chief business official or assistant superintendent of business sign off at the end. But most of the cabinet members are also signing off all the way through. And it's just a communication tool to ensure that the district doesn't enter into some sort of agreement for a grant where it's not sustainable in the long run. I've actually been when I was at a district, I had many things go through that we didn't have a form like this. So I can see why this would be valuable, and we were happy to give them a sample to use. I think they started working on it right away in cabinet.
Okay. I'm going to ask one other question, and then I'm going to turn it over to my other trustees. I may request more time. I guess the number one thing I want to know is, obviously, we had public acknowledgement by staff and with the community around the 5 million, right, in terms of the accrual, and you talked to that, and so we as a board are trying to be transparent about that. Based on what you've seen in terms of changes that the district is doing there, are we, maybe this is an unfair question, do we have enough confidence that the district has made enough changes to make sure that does not happen again as it relates to the accrual of those liabilities?
I would say that the circumstances around that had to do more with you having newer staff turnover in various positions, not just one, that led to that happening. And the team is acutely aware of how the system is functioning now. And so I don't foresee that happening in the future. And I don't, I just think it was just a matter of staff turnover. That basically is what I could say at that. And yes, they're aware of it now. I mean, all these systems are so complex, and yeah, there's a lot to learn about how the system is talking from one module to another. And from what I can see from our perspective, that has all been cleared up. They understand how it's talking now, and I would not see that same incident occurring again. No.
Okay, thank you for the candor. I know it's a very direct question. I'm trying to be direct.
It's fine.
I guess my follow-on question is, are we, obviously you had an opportunity to look at some of the day-to-day, are we managing too much through spreadsheets and so on that don't have linkages back to the financial systems? Or like you talked about modules, do we have a comprehensive enough accounting and financial framework that avoids us from tracking accruals and things like that too late in the cycle? Or maybe you don't have enough visibility to that. Maybe it's an unfair question.
What I saw evidence of was them using the system, using the Frontline Escape, which is the financial system.
Okay.
Yeah, we always, just to your comment, we're always discouraging the use of external spreadsheets. That's not a best practice. So we didn't see excessive use of that, no.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'll turn it over to others.
Yes, go ahead, Trustee Jones.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions as well. My first one is, when I was going through the report, have we fixed the fraud reporting so that we're able to do so?
So I believe there was a couple of questions regarding internal processes to detect fraud and a few other things. So we are addressing those. We don't have a solution for them right now, but those are what we're going to be addressing those.
Okay, and then do those go before the board for approval, or is that just like internal ARs?
It'll probably be more internal processes, yes.
All right, so back to the report itself. 16.7, when I was looking at that one, it mentions that, let me scroll down as well so I can see it. On 16.7, it says, do board members attend training on budget governance at least every 2 years? The last half of that is inaccurate. I have been going to MIG for the last 2 years, and that has been paid for and documented by our board. So that would need to be corrected on there. I I just wanted to point that out. For 2.11, have we fixed the standard procedure around grants and the impacts towards them?
So we have received the sample grant form that Mrs. Montero spoke about, and we're doing an internal review working with Mr. Dialazzo, and I think that's coming back to extended cabinet, correct?
We're going to bring it back to extended cabinet. So we did receive the form from Ms. Montero, as Mr. Sheikh Al-Islami said. I do want to vet it with the directors, because that's where the grants are coming from. So we see a grant, we apply for it. I think what was alluded to by Ms. Montero is that we have some grants that we want to make sure the deliverables are delivered, so provided. And so I think that's kind of where this came from, that we want to make sure that that's happening. And secondly, that other departments see and frankly approve that process, so that the business office is not surprised. Because there may be some overhead things that costs something because we have a grant. So we want to make sure all the departments are on the same page, everybody's signing off, and then ultimately the superintendent signs off.
All right, thank you. For in number 6.5, I was just kind of curious, like, why does the county ding us in the report for trying to pay like educators a living wage? Because being above COLA, for being real, it often doesn't even match the real inflation that we've seen. So I was just kind of wondering, why does the report ding you if you actually do try to give your teachers or educators a higher increase than COLA?
We have found in over time that districts that consistently give increases that exceed COLA, they are so they're getting the revenue that they're getting from the state. So when we talk about COLA, we're talking about the cost of living increases that come to us from the state of California that funnel into school districts. So let's just say if it's a 2.5% increase that's being provided to school districts, if a district goes and provides a 5% on a consistent basis, they're going to need to make cuts elsewhere in order to afford that. And in the most troubled districts, we find that those cuts don't happen, and then the districts end up with a structural deficit or worse, ongoing deficits that lead to fiscal insolvency. And so that is why this question is on here.
All right, so then if a district did the opposite, where they're actually like under providing raises for COLA, would that mean that you'd be giving them a yes or a positive then?
If they matched COLA or were under, it would be a yes, because the risk of insolvency would be less than if it were exceeding the COLA, because that's only, it's not a matter of, it's a matter of what revenues are you receiving and what are your expenditures and are they matched. That's what this is measuring.
All right, my next question is 7.1. So we have to cover the cost of special ed because of the fact that the state and the federal government failed to do their part and cover that. So I was just kind of curious, like, why are we then being docked for trying to do our job of covering those funds when the state and the federal government are failing to do their job?
I could not, I can't agree with you more on that one about this, the underfunding of special education. I do totally see your point there. On this one, the question is, it's not just special education. There's also the routine restricted maintenance program. In your case, at your district, it's really only one or two of those that have contributions to the restricted programs. But you have to understand this form is a one-size-fits-all for across the state. So oftentimes we find that district contributions aren't just to special ed and RRMA, the routine restricted maintenance program. They could be to special education. They could, not special education. They can be to Title I or any of those other titles, any of those other federal programs. It could be anything, actually. It could be after-school programs. It could be child nutrition. Anything that's a restricted program that's not supporting itself. And so, yes, there's a no here because in your case, it's just those two programs, and it looks like just special education and the RRMA, and so it kind of looks like we're micro-focusing on those. But please know that most of the time, we do see more than just those two programs where I totally understand what you're saying. I take your feedback back to FICMAT regarding just micro-focusing on our RMA and special ed, because what could you do better here? I do understand that, but this question really seeks more to more resources that are more than just our RMA and special education. So I agree, special education is not funded well at all, and all we could do is just ask that in your case that the district is doing everything that they can to try to contain those costs in your special education program, which hopefully would result in a lower contribution. But obviously we don't want any of those reductions in costs to come on the backs of the students who deserve that support the most.
All right, thank you. My last question is for 13.2 under salaries and benefits. The district is getting dinged because 91% of our funding are basically 91% of our funds is going towards salaries and benefits. But my question is, since the point of a district is to provide education towards students, why is it I'm having a hard time understanding why it would be bad that the majority of our funding is actually going to staff, classrooms, and education, as opposed to 86% in other districts, because that means that they're having an additional over 10% that's not actually going towards kids in a sense then.
It's salaries versus overall cost. There's a lot more that takes, we do say 85 to 95% of every dollar is going to salaries in a school, but we have to also consider the fact that we have utilities and other types of overhead costs and things like that of that nature, textbook adoptions. It's not that things aren't going to the classroom, it's that this anytime the salary percentage alone rises too high, then other cuts have to happen in other places, and so districts have historically with high percentages over the statewide average for a unified school district, they can get into trouble. Again, this is all about risk. I don't want you to feel like the district is being dinged in any way. This is, as we've seen over time, districts that greatly exceed that percentage are going to find themselves into trouble financially because the salary costs are so high it doesn't provide for them to be able to cover other costs elsewhere in the budget.
All right. I thank you for answering my questions. I know I kind of grilled you on that, so I appreciate it.
It's okay, no problem.
Other questions? Yes. Trustee Walker.
Yeah, thank you, trustees, for asking most of the questions that I have. But I wanted to ask on section 6 on the collective bargaining agreements, are on, I guess it's 6.4. Are you saying that those settlement agreements have not been accounted for in subsequent years? Is that, can you elaborate on that, on your narrative on 6.4?
Okay, hold on a second. Let me just read the question. What this is saying is that the district did a very good job with the pre-settlement analysis.
Right.
That's actually one of the things that we almost never get to see in a district that this district did provide. So we were grateful for that. In the disclosure documents, in the question, it says, if did it identify either an ongoing revenue source or expenditure reductions to support the agreement in the current and subsequent years? And the piece that was not identified was how would you balance the budget in order to afford the cost of the agreement?
Okay, so
Is that helping?
they did not elaborate how, and our board didn't take into consideration how we're going to pay that in the subsequent years?
Yes, was it going to be an expenditure reduction?
Okay.
Were they identified clearly?
Okay, got it. And then I just wanted to ask for board training. Well, I've also attended some things in the last couple of years, but are you saying that we should go every year to the CSBA trainings or the MIG courses? Can you elaborate on what type of training that our board members should?
Yes. So I'm going to go to that
And
question.
if I could just interject while she's looking that up, a lot of the information for some of that was from me. It wasn't necessarily that I didn't say that our trustees weren't going to the Masters in Governance. workshops. That's something that every new trustee does.
Sure.
The conversation that I recall we had was more of the ongoing annual training. So that last line might be just a minor error, but the conversation that she and I had was really more about, like, if you are a trustee that's been, for example, on the board for 7 years, what's the ongoing professional development that you're doing? And so we did have that initial conversation. The other thing that, just to kind of reiterate, this was just a snapshot in time. Since the time that we had our interview, I know Lanita has already emailed and communicated to us in terms of the ethics training that we'll be putting in place, which we're actually going to be doing this spring. So I just wanted to highlight that the conversation that I recall we had was more of that ongoing professional development. The other thing I know that I did mention to her was the Keating training, but that's really more of like HR mandatory training. It's not really more on leadership. So just remember, to our fellow trustees, it's a snapshot in time, but I'll pass it off to our amazing presenter to further elaborate.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. I was just curious if you know, what would you recommend? I mean, I'm in studying different school districts. What have other school districts done in terms of ongoing professional development training for school board members and finance? Because it's critical.
I would agree that it's critical too. I was actually encouraged by, I believe that you had a board policy that was shared with us that there was something for when they were new, right? Your board members were new. But so then ongoing every 2 years is basically what this is speaking to.
Okay.
Have you continued with it? And actually, I think the feedback that we received during our interviews was that with the cuts to the budget, there wasn't enough to continue with those types of trainings at the current time. But that had kind of slowed in the last 1 to 2 years. But it sounds like since we were there, you've all taken some steps to address this. I'm always in favor of board members attending training as often as much as you would like. I feel like there's a great amount of responsibility for boards, and the votes that you take on school district budgets, just like this is saying on the budget and governance, it's just you're making all the hard decisions for school districts. And so if there's more that you ever needed or wanted to know about budgets, you should definitely receive the training for that.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
I'll just add a comment to that. I mean, we as a board, with all the financial reductions we've been doing, have not elected to do what I would call discretionary training above and beyond the board minimum to be fully accredited with CSBA and go through that training for all new board members. That's the reality. We didn't want to be spending thousands of dollars going to CSBA on an annual basis when we're eliminating teacher positions. I think that was the right decision. So, but that drives that 91% that you were talking about as an example, right? That's a choice that we've been making, and it comes with risk and it comes with consequences. But I couldn't resist making that comment.
Yes, well stated, Trustee Brown. And that is the conversation that you and I did have in that initial meeting, where I did specifically state that our trustees had not gone to the the annual state California School Board Association seminars, and that's where the bulk of our annual training has come from. So moving on, I just have one question, because my fellow trustees actually asked a lot of my own questions, and if I have any other additional questions, I'll email. But one question I have is on the 5.1 for the charter schools. It says, does the district school have a board policy, MOU, or other written document regarding charter oversight? And I guess my question is, it says that we don't. Is that something that you see in standard practice that most districts have? If they don't have any charter schools in place? So if you could elaborate on that, I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely. We would just like to see that districts have a policy in place in the event they were to receive a petition. So you would know, the district administration would know exactly what the board wishes. I mean, obviously there's statute that governs that, but you know, where there are places where you can have a board policy related to charter petitions, and if you're going to have an MOU, any of those things in advance. The timelines when you receive a charter petition are really short, and you don't want to be caught off guard not having board direction on how you wish the district to handle that situation should it arise. And so even though you don't have charter schools, we would love to see you have a board policy, standing board policy ready to go in the event that you got one.
Okay, great. I think we'll pass that to the policy committee down the road. But yes, I see my fellow trustee have another question. Trustee Jones.
So I just want to follow up on that. The state law currently says that if you are in declining enrollment and you also are in fiscal issues, you can reject charter petitions in general. Those are some of the things that are necessary for it. So if we are able to reject because of our current situation, and the Tri-Valley typically does not do charter schools because of the horrible abuses that happened to children at the last one that they tried to do out here. Is it really, does it have to be no, or could it actually have been not applicable in this case because of our situation?
I have a sense that your situation is just temporary, and that you'll be on the road. You're on the road to fiscal recovery soon, and as such, I still believe you should have a policy ready in the event. I get what you're saying, that you're in your region. That's not a likelihood, but I still think to be best prepared, you should have a policy ready to go.
Thank you.
Other questions? Yes, Trustee Brown.
All right. I could easily spend each night going through every no, but I'm going to pick just one last one, and I'm going to ask Ahmad to respond to this as well. 19.3, does the district reconcile budget, payroll, and position control regularly, at least at budget adoption and interim financial reporting periods? Interviews with staff revealed the district lacks a formal process for regularly reconciling budget, payroll, and position control data. After budget adoption, district staff reported they were working on implementing a new process for reconciling position control regularly. When are we going to have that?
That's a great question. We've been having some challenges with the system, the frontline escape system, but we have been able to now develop a good position report that is accurate, and that we can pull and we can review. And so that's something that I recently got that from our Director of Fiscal Services. We're reviewing that with our fiscal expert. And then the next step is to really sit down with HR and make sure that we formalize that process and that we look at it. So we're confident that by the end of this year, we'll have that process, and going into next year, it will be a very regular ongoing process.
Okay, thank you very much. I see that as very key, obviously, to address the comments that we've made, and then members of the public like Mr. Choi. Thank you.
Sorry, I was just looking at my neighbor to confirm. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Great discussion, and thank you for answering questions. We're going to move this item to public comment. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to come up and speak on the FCMAT report analysis. Come on up. Yes, come on up. I forgot. I don't think we need public. Okay, yeah. Let's just come on up and speak, and and then Lenita will record that you came up. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
3 minutes. 3 minutes.
Understood. Thank you very much.
3 minutes. I'm not going to cut you off, but 3 minutes.
Thank you very much.
3.
The FCMAT report identifies opportunities for addressing recurring operational oversights. Specifically, the $5 million variance in non-positional costs occurred for 2 consecutive years, creating a $10 million cumulative impact. Since digital timesheets were identified as a critical solution back in 2023, can the district office tell us when the current timeline for a district-wide rollout? Furthermore, as we transition away from taxpayer bond funds for technological infrastructure, we must ensure that the multi-year projection accurately capture the true cost of software licensing and technology refresh to ensure long-term budget stability. I'd also like to address the implementation of fraud and whistleblower controls. While it's been suggested by executive leadership on this conversation that they're strictly internal matters, I believe the public has profound and legitimate interest in these safeguards. When millions of public dollars are at stake, transparency regarding how we prevent and report potential misconduct is a matter of community trust rather than private administrative concern. Ensuring that meeting minutes are published in accordance with the Brown Act and California Education Code is equally essential. By addressing these systemic areas, the board can fulfill its fiduciary duties to our students and taxpayers. And the other thing I would like to point out is that Trustee Jones recently expressed concern regarding high salary costs. In the spirit of transparency, it will be beneficial to provide the community with a more detailed breakdown of these expenditures. Can you confirm if the 91% figure cited for salaries and benefits in this FIGMAT report includes the total compensation raises for all management and executive cabinet level officials? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions from public comment? Or comments, I mean. Sorry, okay. All right, we're closing public comment. So now we're going to go to concluding comments. Fellow trustees. Trustee Brown, you may start.
I try not to always be first. So first of all, thank you very much for the report. I appreciate you acknowledging the staff's approach, which was a welcoming one. I think we as a board welcome it as well. I mean, nobody wants it to be in a negative certification situation, but we all recognize that external experts and perspectives will help us get to a better place. And so I do appreciate the fact that district staff gave you access to the information transparently, and in some cases, I would say, achieved higher than what you've seen in other districts. I think that's a positive sign, and I want to acknowledge that. I also appreciate the completeness of the report and taking us through. Like you said, it's not a question of digging one way or another. It's a risk analysis template, and you articulated that well. So I mostly wanted to thank you for that, it raises additional questions that I will then follow up with staff. But as a tool, it's very useful, and I appreciate all of your time and effort. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? Trustee Jones?
So like I said, I want to thank you again for answering my questions. I know that I grilled you, and I know it's not always a pleasant experience because most districts are never happy to be in this position, to be doing these types of things. But I also just want to bring up and reiterate and remind that this report is focused on risk and procedure, which is important, and I appreciate that. But when it's only looking at those as data points, it leaves out the humanity and the equity of what is going on within it, especially with our state and national concerns. And these were things that I brought up. The reality around special ed, the reality around the fact that COLA is not a realistic way of dealing with how we take care of our staff. And so, in a sense, when I say ding, it is a dock against us because that raises that percentage up to 25.7 as we saw on this report. And so I'm glad that it's addressing some key issues, some critical things that we need to look at and address with our policies and procedure, from grants to fraud and many other things that we can then address, looking at substitute ratio, making sure that we're getting what we need done on time. I am a little concerned that timing-wise, we're still looking at and going through some of those things with how crucial it is, but I also understand that there was a lot going on with the budget and everything else, so it's hard to try and get all these things done at once, but these are also critical things that we need to be putting into place as soon as we can. So I appreciate staff working with the county on this. I appreciate the FICMAT report, but I also just cannot stress enough that we cannot forget that this is the data of just risk and procedure. We cannot forget the equity and humanity that, because of that, is not put into it, that we still have to account for in our budgets. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Jones. Trustee Walker?
First of all, thank you so much for a very thorough report. I think the report really should serve as a turning point, not just a critique. I think we have the opportunity right now to strengthen our systems. I think we have a great opportunity to strengthen our systems, rebuild trust, and put the district on a more sustainable path. I think we need clear corrective paths and action plans and regular, progress monitoring, as you have mentioned. But I think that we really need to prioritize long-term stability and avoid short-term fixes. I appreciate all your oversight. I appreciate all the staff for everything you've done. This is a long process, and I appreciate it. And I think this is not just a critique. I think this is an opportunity for us to really build and like I said, rebuild trust and put the district on an upward trajectory. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I'll just conclude. A lot of my fellow trustees have echoed sentiments that I would like to reiterate as well. And first, just once again, thank you for the comprehensive report. I do like the consolidation. I do think there was a human element of us. It's human nature. We get a little defensive of, how we could do better or what could we do differently, or I said this, and I think that's a good process. And for those who don't know, I always state I am a process-oriented person. I do hope that the district will consider using this type of assessment tool on the district's own moving forward from a reflective process to help take advantage of the support from FCMAT and your services. I think it's unfortunate that not all districts have access to this type of support, and I do appreciate the district and superintendent and all the staff for being open for seeking that type of support. I've always been one to state that we, as a district and in particular as a board, we have to own up with the accountability of some of the errors that has put us into this situation, and we need to own up on that. And I've said that over and over and over. We need to be accountable. We need to have that long-term strategic planning. One thing that I did note in the report that was eye-opening for me to see is that there are some audits done in some departments, but not necessarily universal. And I think that's good that that was identified as something that needs to be improved. And that's just one example. It's our job. We need to do the long-term planning so that our students aren't paying the price, and our staff and for our community. So well said to our fellow trustees. Thank you again for the presentation tonight, and we hope to hear from you soon for follow-up details as well. So thank you. No other action on this item. So thank you. We're going to move to C on the agenda. Okay, so C is a report and discussion, which actually kind of piggybacks on our previous agenda item in terms of financial aspects, review revenue generator efforts. And so who do I pass the torch to for this presentation?
That would be to Ahmad. And as promised, we've talked about revenue generation, and we've talked about it in fits and starts, and we think it's a good idea to routinely come back with a comprehensive dashboard of all the things that we got on the dartboard looking for revenue. So I'm going to turn it over to Ahmad.
Great, thank you. I'm just getting set up here. As I do that, the work that we present here is the accumulation of efforts and work by prior boards and current board and prior staff and current staff. It's a lot of work that takes a considerable amount of time to put together and to actualize. So with that, I think I'm in my slideshow, yes. So we'll review some of the current revenue generation that is currently ongoing, and then some of the new revenue generation areas that we are investigating and working through, and some others that are yet not on the list but are under investigation as well, and we'll be happy to answer some questions. So clicking into this dashboard, you can see that The district, through its purchase of this property and the sale of the vineyard property, brings a considerable amount of revenue from the lease into the general fund, and also to manage the remaining $5 million of COP. And additionally, the district has, in the last 4 to 5 years, really grown its after-school program, and through the efforts of the team, it brings considerable amount of revenue into the general fund, and that serves both the families and the community, but also the general fund. And we'll talk about some additional efforts in growing it. We also make our facilities through the Civic Center Act available to various community organizations, and so we do collect some facility fees to be able to maintain those facilities and to pay for the kind of cost that it takes to have those facilities available to the public. Again, through our partnership through our education foundation, there's almost $770,000 annually that foundation brings to the district and funds very critical and important programs that are strategically coordinated with us. Through the effort of our parents and other programs, we get a significant amount of donations that go to the schools and to programs directly. These are on the restricted side, but it's important to kind of indicate the magnitude of it, close to $3 million. And they will support everything from book supplies and extra stuff in the classrooms to outdoor education and other things that our coaches and so on and so forth that our parents donate towards. And then our staff, do look at grants, and those do support many programs, again, in the wellness area, in our technical education program. We bring significant revenues in, and through the Medi-Cal reimbursement. So those again, almost $2 million. They will be different every year. Some grants are multi-year, others are for 1 year, and so those are things that we track. Looking at what we are currently, this is a long list, and I know that the font is very small, but we talked about the Kids Club, and so next year we have grown that program almost double in the last 4 to 5 years. And for next year, we are continuing to grow. We plan to specifically grow at 2 sites, at Donlin and Leidixon, and that will bring somewhere between $300,000 and $400,000 of revenue into the district. So I believe that will go to the progress will be 100% once we hire the staffing. We're right now working on hiring the staffing for those. The district is working on finding a third-party vendor that could increase our capacity for after-school care and programs at 2 specific sites that are impacted. That's at Alisal and Valley View. We're not looking that to be a significant revenue portion, but we are seeing it as a significant support for our families. And then in turn, by having that support, more families can enroll their kids in TK and K, and also in some of our DLI programs that we have at Valley View. So again, there's a couple of benefits that we can get through that process. The mental health billing, first I got to touch on the viability grant. That again has been through the hard work and effort of the district staff. We went after the mental health. We were part of that first cohort, and the county recognized the school districts that took that leadership needed additional support to fund the bridging of getting that ongoing revenue going. And so the staff really let the county know the challenges behind that, and the county developed this 1 more year of this grant that we have confirmed that we will get for 26-27. The mental health billing is going to be the really a strong ongoing revenue source, and we've done a lot to estimate this out. but we haven't yet seen the money flow. We don't really know how it's going to actually look once it is fully operational, but we do expect next year that it will be fully operational, and once those revenues do actually come in and we get some consistent data, then we can build it into the budget for the 27-28 fiscal year. The next two items are really about increasing enrollment through various efforts, both with our TK and K families, and that's been spearheaded by Mr. Dialazzo and the Student Services and Ed Services team. But also, really, we attract already over 500 families come to PUSD because it's a destination school. They're in other school districts. They want PVA. They want DLI. They love our CTE programs and other programs that we have. And so they do the inter-district transfers. I think that's an area that we can continue to work on and get more students. We haven't put any dollar amounts to those because it's very difficult to project that, but we know that every student approximately will bring the district $12,000 of additional revenue. We have more space in the district office that we're trying to lease. It is a very tough market with high vacancies and stuff, but it's still something that we're working at, and we're hopeful we'll find that right client that wants that kind of space. A significant effort that it's a multi-year, very complex transaction is being able to fully move out of First and Bernal and to be able to utilize the potential sale of that property to then generate revenue through a revenue generation property or investments. And so again, you can see the Village High School, it's in transaction in terms of construction. STEAM is being relocated. Adult education has been relocated. And then now we're working on the final piece of that, which is the maintenance and operations yards, and hopefully we'll have some clear plans for that in the next several months. Again, we do try to go for some of the smaller ones like the cell tower. We're still waiting to see how the city updates its ordinances. They're in the process of doing that, and once that happens, we'll work with AT&T because we don't have to install a tower. Our light fixtures at both high schools will serve as the tower, and so I think that those are really good places to both increase our safety and bring some revenue in. And then finally, the holy grail of that money in terms of stability long-term is looking to our local community, similar to our bond measures where the community funded and we're able to maintain and have the really good quality facilities for our students. Many school districts in the Bay Area recognize that state funding is not enough, and they utilize property taxes to supplement it. Actually, this wasn't part of your packet, but now it is, and I added it because I think the data is very compelling. And what you will see is that there's a large number of school districts in Alameda County that have parcel taxes, some very close to us. These are fixed parcel taxes per parcel. So you can see it varies from $3,000 in Piedmont all the way to $46 per parcel in San Leandro. Then we have some school districts that have significant parcel taxes on a per square footage. And some combine it. Albany has a per square footage and they have a fix. Alameda has the per square footage. And so there's different ways of putting these together. This is Contra Costa. Again, you can see some of the areas in the La Marinda area have significant parcel taxes, and then there's not that many in terms of the per square footage. But you can see in San Mateo, the majority of the districts have, and both Maurice and I worked in Menlo Park where they have a $1,500 parcel tax to all the way to tiny little San Bruno who has a $68 parcel tax. I would say that most of these school districts, many of them are basic aid. So in addition to their basic aid, they have gone to get additional local revenues from partial taxes. And then you can see in Santa Clara, the majority of the school districts, all the way from Palo Alto, who's a basic aid and raises multi-millions of dollars from their foundation, has gone to partial taxes as well to supplement and provide the educational program that their community wants. There's not as many per square, but so each county does things differently. But I would say I didn't have Marin in here. If I had Marin, it would be similar to Santa Clara and San Mateo as well. And then lastly, the under investigation. We are looking at better utilization of Fund 28. We've discussed that. The district has a 7-11 committee in process looking at portion of the Donlan property as surplus. Again, it would be the same concept, monetize that, either use it for the MOT or look for other property investments or revenue generation opportunities. Staff has worked on and presented what a decentralized model could look like to the facility committee. So we've done that work. And we've been chasing small little items like the parking in the East Bay Regional Park. Currently, the city is in discussions with the park. They're not ready yet to engage with the school district, but that's also something that we're looking at. And as new ideas are generated and brought, both we generate them or others in the community bring them, we do look at them and put them kind of on that investigation list. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
No, nothing else on the presentation?
That's it.
Wow. Okay. All right. Did you want to add anything, Dr. Geisels?
Well, again, you know, this was suggested by a trustee, I believe it was last month, and I thought it was a great idea to just take a look at the placemat of all the things that we got going. And we for example, at the next meeting, Ed's going to talk about our dashboard with what we're doing with equity and inclusion and academics and the like. But we plan to routinely bring these back to you and show you the progress in the area. And there's some things that we didn't want to put down yet because we're flaring and we're thinking about ideas. There's a couple big punctuation points, though, and I think it's worth repeating a couple things. Can you scroll to the top, please? Just to give the headlines here. First of all, keep in mind that while we're looking for, and again, this is repeating it, while we're looking to expand our third-party after-school vendor, we're not outsourcing because we want to do that permanently. We're trying to go really, really fast, and if we can't build it, we'll put a vendor in first. Well, we want to make sure ultimately that it's PUSD programs, PUSD employees. That just takes time. It takes time with a lot of negotiations, a lot of hiring, a lot of planning. So this is, I just want to emphasize, this is the short-term thing, and we plan to expand it as rapidly as we can. Why? We have, if you look at an indicator of a district's health, it's just like when I was a high school principal. I was the high school principal of California High School, and San Ramon High School took our kids as intra-district transfers. And my mentor said, there's your measure right there. It's you want to keep the kids. And when you think about it from district to district, it's inter-district transfer. It is, you know, we can look at all the, not taking away any of the glory of all our accolades of awards, but when you think about Pleasanton having over 500 inter-district transfers, that's an economic denominator that really talks about the value proposition here. So back to expanding child care, we know that in the Valley and beyond, parents have to, there's a lot of dual income parents. It costs a lot of money here. Everybody has to work. Everybody's running to go nowhere. And they have to really have the comfort and safety of dropping their kids off before they go to work and picking them up after work with the child feeling safe and happy, and the parents know that they did their homework. That's a really important thing. Our Kids Club is of the highest caliber in terms of early learning education. We want to get that caliber too, particularly not just to attract and retain, drop your kids off at school and increase our inter-district transfers. It's because we know that the research, more than anything else, says a longer school day that's of high quality, particularly our students who are of poverty, African American students of poverty, EL, Hispanic, poor, white. We know that the longer school day is the largest treatment. As a matter of fact, that's why Silicon Valley Education Foundation gets so much money, over $11 million, because they extend the school day in STEAM. So there's a lot of reasons to run quickly to expand the school day. Now, does that mean we're saying that we expand TK or kindergarten? That has to be negotiated. We have to move faster than that. We have to do it with vendors and then ultimately bring our people in and make it a total PUSD program. So that one is worth repeating. And as far as parcel tax is concerned, one of the reasons we want to do this well, where we're so palms up with bringing FCMAT in, where we're looking at processes, where we're not being opaque but transparent. One of the reasons we want to do that is to gain the trust of our community, to gain the trust. And we've been hearing a lot of things like the district can't be trusted, it's mismanaged and things like that. We're working as hard as we possibly can to demonstrate integrity, credibility, process improvement, right? And we're an open book. Because what we have to do and what we deserve, our kids deserve, is a parcel tax. Oh, and by the way, and this is for everybody, property taxes and the performance of school districts is not a correlative. It's causal. When schools do better, when we have higher achievement, real estate goes up. And people who even don't have children in our schools are enjoying the value of their property because of PUSD. And that's what we have to do. We have to work together, we have to band together, we have to flip a lot of this energy that's really upsetting into a charge for what we need, and that is locally funded PUSD.
Well stated. So with that, we're going to pass it for trustees for questions. Trustee Brown, I saw your hand up.
Sure. So much for your 8 minutes, Ahmad. Just teasing Dr. Geisels there. Couldn't resist. So I like the list. I appreciate the work that went into it. I think it's really good that this becomes a regular cadence. One of the items that I was just, this I guess more of a comment, I did actually go to the City Planning Commission meeting last night around the cell tower policy and spoke there, not authorized by the board, so I spoke as an independent citizen about how atrocious cell coverage is in the town, and how it would be really nice if we had a streamlined process that isn't stuck in the 1980s, that can actually facilitate additional towers. Anyway, that's moving ahead. That was approved last night by the Planning Commission. They did make an amendment to the macro tower policy to increase the notice period and the notice radius, but otherwise that's now proceeding as staff had intended to City Council, and I encourage members of the public to support that. One of the things that as a middle school parent with a kid going into high school, sitting at the PMS auditorium and hearing all the parents that were putting their kids through accelerated programs for high school. I learned a lot that night because of the excellent counselor that we had, the district-wide counselor that was presenting around all of the pros and cons, and if something is a district program like ROP, then it goes on the district transcript, and there's a maximum number of credits that can go on your transcript from outside programs and all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of energy and money that our parents are spending to try to, and when we talk about the blues and the reds, that's a reference to making sure that we're meeting the needs of our most needful students and our most academic needs at the same time. One of the things I would like us to consider is whether or not in a few select areas we could consider, for those parents that are going to do it anyway, turning that into a revenue generation opportunity to offer a district accelerated program during the summer that would get them district credits and would have the same level of quality. That's one of the things that the counselor was cautioning people on, is like doing some of these online classes, you might get an A, but are you getting the same quality of education that you get from the kind of quality teachers that we have within Pleasanton, right? So I guess my question or ask as a trustee is, can we, is that something we can move on to the under investigation list? Is there an appetite from the other trustees for that? So anyway, that was a long-winded question. I apologize.
Okay. So staff, do you want to respond to his question?
Yeah, just really quick. So thank you for that. So I've been talking with Dr. Geisels about that thought. And what I want to do first is I'm researching actually recently what are some of the historical enrichment programs, after-school programs, and current programs, and are they fee-based? You're talking about revenue generation, or have we provided, I know we've provided enrichment programs, after-school programs that we fund. We have, ELOP money, and we have other grants that kind of fund those things. So I'm doing that research right now, Trustee Brown and trustees, and I will have a report to Dr. Geisels in terms of what do we want to do with that information? Do we want to proceed with what you're talking about here and come up with a more comprehensive plan of some generation of revenue from enrichment programs?
Thank you, Mr. Dialazzo. That's one of the things I said we're thinking about and exploring and investigating as fast as we can without, tipping our hand. And these things can be pretty charged too, because we want to make sure that, our Pleasanton strength is our risk. We have students that are highly accelerated. We're concerned too about the pressure, and we want to approach it in a way where teachers are going to be into it, because this has to do with collective bargaining and has to do with what teachers need too. So I think it's not just that something that comes on high. There has to be conversations, particularly with high school teachers, about what to do next. So there's history too. So we'll be back. Thank you, Ed.
Yeah, the reason I bring it up is parents are doing it anyway, the student and spending the money, and there's a pro and a con, right? There's the pro that says, well, we want our kids to have time off in the summer to decompress and have school life balance. Is that a term? But at the same time, in some cases, it's then impacting their ability to take the next level during the regular school year because they haven't gotten the same quality that they would have gotten through a PUSD sanctioned program. So that's why I'm kind of pushing it. It's like if they're going to do it anyway, then there's possibly revenue and quality implications. We need to proceed cautiously. It's on your radar, and I appreciate the acknowledgement. Thank you.
That was well summed up. Thank you.
Are there questions from fellow trustees? Yes, Trustee Jones.
Yeah, so one, I would also be cautious as we look into that, because what we've found sometimes in other districts that I've been in that have done that, if it's done in 2 weeks, it'll never be to the same quality as an 18-week or a 36-week course, which is some of what you were just bringing up. So I'm always cautious about those. So be careful. One of my questions would be, since we're looking at revenue generators, are we going to bring up with the the city, when we have another city district liaison meeting, would we be able to bring up the subsidy with the city on a subsidy with the city on utilities? I mean, everyone in the audience here has seen your rates go up, so has our district. So not only do we get underpaid by the state, but we also then get hit by the city the same way you guys do. And so since we are a big reason why people move here, could we ask the city to assist us with the subsidy on those utility rates? Because I know they do it for certain, sometimes they do it, for example, for the elderly and other groups as well.
Yeah, so the city provides the water, they purchase the water, and or some of it from Zone 7. So they've increased their rates due to a wide variety of reasons, but we can discuss that with them. Our other big utility is gas and electric, and that is provided through PG&E and other providers that are available in the market. That's not run by the city, but we can definitely have the discussion about water with the city.
All right, thank you. PG&E, everyone's favorite company. And then for number 2, sorry, I was looking at my own notes of what I wanted to bring up. Looking at how we're going to try to move towards inter-district transfers from other districts as we try to recruit students. I don't need it now because I know that it will be a lot, but I was just wondering if at some point we could get an update of what that rollout of ads, are we going to be partnering with the chamber, digital, word of mouth? If we could just have an update of some sort of what you think that might look like going forward as we try to broaden and bring more people in. I'm not going to put you on the spot for that one right now.
Yeah, it is on the document, Trustee Jones. You just said it, advertising. You know what's the most powerful thing that I'm finding is that word of mouth.
Yeah, word of mouth.
It's when parents talk about it, talk about our programs, talk about PVA, talk about DLI at Valley View. That's where we're getting a lot of kind of traction. 560 IDTs this year is amazing. And PVA, I just looked at the data today, there's 73 IDTs for full-time students out of 130, so over 55% of PVA are students on inter-district transfer. So really good data there. So we want to keep building that and enhancing that.
Okay, cool, because that would also be a really good data point of what exactly do they like that we could point out. My third one just being we already partner with the trades to some extent at our school sites. I was just wondering, are we looking into more deeply partnering on CTE with the trades? I know we do partially at JTAC, but ME3s, things like that, because, for example, they're willing to cover and pay for courses, especially if we have things like a PLA with them, because it's a partnership investment. So I was just wondering, have we looked into more deeply expanding that like we have with cement masons and a couple of the other ones?
Yeah, the biggest one is the firefighters apprenticeship program, and actually I was just there last Saturday at the training center in Livermore. Really excellent program, and that's the biggest apprentice MOU that we have. The cement masons we anticipate and working with again next year, and then we are currently, don't want to spoil it just yet because I'm still working on some of the paperwork, but we're looking at a firm in San Jose for computer science or kind of AI type of work. So we're looking at building. To your point, we want that and we want more because it's a really good program for students to kind of get into apprenticeship programs, and there's a money factor there too for the district. So thank you for bringing that up.
All right. My last one is not an easy one in a sense to discuss. I understand that the facilities committee looked at the DO request that I had made earlier on in the year, but it was brought to my attention that there would be no movement to bring an update to the full board or to discuss it. So I just wanted to start with, is that part true, that we won't have a discussion here at the board, just on whether or not it's feasible, whether or not it works? We're just not going to discuss that.
So the At the committee level, it was discussed to first share out the information to the board, see if there's any questions or follow-ups and with the superintendent. At the current time, based on the information we were provided, it was not to bring it back to the board and to first work with, updating the rest of the board on the work.
All right.
Just hold on to clarify, just to extend on what Ahmad's saying. The way the meeting went, and it was just yesterday, there was some information presented on decentralization, but the committee actually asked for more information. So that's the primary reason why it's not coming back to the board. So it's not that there was a final decision not to come back to the board ever, but there were very specific questions that both trustees asked that staff has to go back to go research and get more information on. So that, I just wanted to echo what Ahmad was saying.
All right. For that list of questions, can you add for me, can you break down the amount that was listed for a potential move? Can you break down itemized how you got to that number and like what would bring it to that amount? Because that would help me then with some questions that I might have as a follow-up for that as well.
I think once we provide that information, we'll definitely sit down with one-on-one with those additional questions.
All right. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Other questions? Sorry, Trustee Walker, then back to Trustee Brown.
Okay. Anyway, I like to focus on the ongoing revenue streams, and so Mr. Dialazzo, the mental health billing. I know that we're in the implementation phase, and I know we're not going to put the revenue streams in until 27, 28, but so you really can't tell monthly allotments, but can you see that number going up dramatically?
Conservatively, yes. I mean, that's our goal. So the reason why we put the low end at 300, high end at 600 is because we don't know yet how many billers can actually be in the program, and the rate of those billers differ depending on their job. Like, what do they do? How are they serving the students? A social worker or a nurse providing services that we can bill for maybe at a higher rate than a wellness coach. So that's kind of where we're at, why there's such a big difference in the high end and in the low end.
Because the billing complexity is
It's
different.
the complexity of the billing structure and the rate per person, and then for us, how many people will be eligible to be a biller. That's another variable that is really unknown. Can the high end be higher? I would say just yes. But we're going to be conservative right now and give you that kind of range, 300 to 600. I've been working with the team of people analyzing the billers that can bill, and then also with Ahmad in terms of really looking at the numbers. This is where we came up with the 300 to 600, just looking at our current status for the billing cycle, and again, waiting to see what it'll look like next year, so then we'll have a really good picture for 27, 28.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. I'll ask my other question.
Trustee Brown?
So I'm going to expand on Trustee Walker's question. I know we can't force people to use their private medical, but are there other things outside of the mental health that could potentially fall into the billing space, things that we could, with parent permission, charge to private medical to defray any costs, special ed costs?
I don't know if I'm understanding the question. This is not only with students with IEPs. I don't know if I'm understanding what you're asking.
The revenue generation talks about mental health billing reimbursement.
Correct.
Are there other things that we could potentially bill to private insurance related to our fulfillment of IEPs? Obviously, we can't force parents to allow us, but we are allowed to charge some IEP-related costs to private insurance, should we wish to, and should it not place a financial burden on parents?
Yeah, I don't have.
Maybe I'm coming out of left field here.
I don't think what I know, Trustee Brown, is we do not have a structure of billing private insurance for our students. We don't have that.
I'm suggesting as a new idea.
Oh, as a new idea.
And
yeah,
because I mean, simple Google searches suggest that you can. Now, I could be wrong. Everyone uses AI and Google wrong, and it hallucinates and all sorts of wonderful things. But it seems like it's a possibility.
We can definitely look into it. I don't have that in my knowledge bank, my bank of knowledge. I do know that we work with third parties to help us do the billing. We provide the service as an educational institution. In this case, for the mental health billing, ACOE is our kind of vendor to help us get the reimbursables from the insurance, and so that's that cycle. I don't know if we directly can bill, but I will look into what you're asking for as an idea.
Yeah, just an idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very robust questions. Other questions? Trustee Gorsuch, would you like to add any questions? Trustee Walker, did you say you had a follow-up question? Okay, so I just have one question, and this actually was presented to me, so I do feel like it's my duty to ask. I apologize. I probably would have asked ahead of time for the Q&A, but I didn't receive it in time. But there's a question in regards to the third-party after-school vendors, and how does that conflict with like meet and conferring with CSEA? Specifically, there's some concerns that process needs to happen first, and making sure that we're not neglecting obligations, MOUs, and so that was a question asked, and I do feel like I need to articulate that. So if you could please answer.
Sure. As Ahmed had stated, there's an initial exploration of finding these after-school care vendors to scale up quickly, because there's an urgent need to meet the needs of the parents, the demand for care, and if we're not able to provide that, then we would lose the enrollment from those students and then not be able to recover that. But aside from the urgent, the long-term plan, as he stated, would be to build in-house. And so we've actually begun. We had an initial meet and confer with CSEA this week around this topic to talk about next steps and what the long-term goal would be, which would be to build in-house and have our employees, it would be classified staff who could provide that version of the after-school care. It differs from the ELOP program and the program that is run by Director Liepart, that's more education-based and more intensive in terms of the training required for staff. But for parents who are just looking for occasional drop-off, drop-in kind of care, or they're looking for an hour or two of play, relax time after work, after school, before they can come pick the kids up after work. Something is needed immediately to cover the two schools in particular. I think it's Valley View and LaSalle where the demand is highest. So that's the conversation that we've started with CSEA, and that will continue as quotes come in from vendors.
Okay, that's great for clarification. Perhaps maybe in the communication processes, perhaps maybe have CSEA leadership share out to some of their members, because it was brought up as an area of concern to make sure there are no violations with that process. So with that, that's all the questions that I have. Any other questions before we move? Okay. All right, so great presentation. We're going to open this for public comment. If there's anyone in the audience, what you need to do is just please come on up to the podium and or get a comment card from Lanita So if one person wants to start and speak, and the other person or anyone else, just go to Lanita and get the comment card. Just a reminder, for public comment on this particular item only, you have 3 minutes. I really don't want to have to cut you off, so do your best to wrap up under the time limit. Thank you.
Of course, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate how complex and how difficult it is to do what you guys are doing. That being said, I will say it was a little alarming to me that it seemed like the biggest thing was emphasized was that we need to add a parcel tax to solve all our problems. And when we moved here for the schools. We moved here for the schools because they had good reputation. They were universally well run, and so it brought us here. And we scrimped and saved and sacrificed to be able to get in here. And then we were alarmed when we registered our kid for schools at how expensive public school just became, because the recommended amounts of donations across the programs and all those things was going to be thousands of dollars for us if we followed the recommended donation amounts. But we decided that we wanted to invest in the schools, and so we did it anyway. And we sacrificed. And I did see that you said $3 million were raised by parents for programs that are being used already. And as I'm looking at what our family is right now, my husband is currently student teaching at Amador and works as an aide in an English learning language classroom without getting paid, separate from his student teaching. He also gets is substituting at his current school without getting paid as a substitute teacher, not as a student teacher. My daughter is at Hart, and the choir program got cut in half, and so they had multiple classes within one classroom. And I asked her how that was going. She said it's terrible. And so I, who have that skill set, go, and I'm now the assistant choir director with no pay, which is fine. I've invested in my kids and their schools and these programs, but I have to, because we're having to fill in so many gaps already, I have to follow with my kids. I can't sustain that forever. So to say that the solution is that we pay more money feels a little shallow. Not that I'm not willing to invest more in the schools, because I am, but I am concerned that that's the default, it seems. I appreciate the interdistrict transfers will bring in more money, but when we're cutting our classroom staff and increasing our classroom sizes, it's alarming to me the idea of bringing in more kids when we're firing classified employees, when we're cutting our administrative staffs and our health staffs and those kinds of things. I've also heard from many teacher friends that when concessions are made in negotiations, that afterwards money is found and it doesn't go back to our classified employees to rehiring those people that we've cut in order to fill the things. But this money that's made is rather going back to district salaries, and I don't know the ins and outs and the complexities of that. But that is also alarming to me. We love the schools, we love our teachers, we love the work that it takes to get here, and we appreciate and respect that. But those things are alarming to me. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yes, I'm going to follow up with staff, and someone's going to contact you just to give you more context and understanding of some of the things you were talking about. So thank you.
Okay. Hi. I was looking over the board documents, and I saw the push for increasing TK and K enrollments, because once we have those students, chances are we'll keep them. So a little light bulb went off. So tonight, I want us to think beyond cuts and instead think about identity. What would make Pleasanton Unified not just a good district, but a destination district? Because families today have choices. They move, they compare, they look for something distinctive, something they cannot find just anywhere. And right now, we have the opportunity to offer exactly that. Instead of scaling back elementary science, we could expand it into something truly exceptional. A universal, hands-on science program for every elementary student, starting in TK. Taught by qualified, credentialed science teachers, not a supplement, not occasional lessons, a defined feature of PUSD education. This is not what other districts are doing, and that's the point. Most districts are narrowing, most are cutting, most are reducing science to a textbook or pushing it into the margins. like we are. We can go the other direction still, though, and in doing so, set ourselves apart in a powerful way. Imagine prospective families hearing this. In Pleasanton, every child, starting at the age of 4, gets real science. They experiment, they build, they explore, and they learn from teachers who specialize in science. It's compelling, it's memorable. That's the reason to choose Pleasanton. Becoming a destination district doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you offer something bold, something distinctive, and something aligned with the future. And nothing signals forward-thinking education more clearly than a deep investment in science. This isn't just about enrichment, it's about identity and reputation. It's about attracting families who value innovation and rigor. It's about retaining families who might otherwise look elsewhere. It's about positioning Pleasanton as a leader in STEAM education, not just in high school, but from the very beginning. Just importantly, it ensures equity, because in a destination district, excellence isn't reserved for some students. It's guaranteed for all. Every child in every classroom gets access to meaningful hands-on science experiences. Cutting this program moves us towards sameness. Expanding it moves us towards distinction. One makes us easier to overlook, the other makes us impossible to ignore. We have a chance right now to define what Pleasanton stands for, not just during a budget crisis, but for years to come. So I urge you, don't just preserve science, elevate it. Make it universal, make it hands-on, make it something no other district offers. Make it the reason families come here. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Choi? Thank you.
The revenue generation dashboard that was just presented is deeply concerning because it relies on high-risk and unsustainable measures. Based on the figures that were presented, the proposal for a parcel tax and the sale of the Burnell property combined account for nearly 84% of the total revenue generation opportunity identified in that spreadsheet. This strategy essentially relies almost entirely on a one-time asset liquidation and a new tax that is unlikely to pass in this fiscal climate unless it is a pure citizen-led effort. Furthermore, the Burnell property was recommended as surplus by the District Advisory Committee back in March 2023. It's deeply concerning to me that 3 years later, this project is still only at a 25% progress mark on your dashboard. We also see items like LEA Medi-Cal reimbursement listed as revenue generation projects. However, as identified in recent financial committee meetings, this is not new. It's simply fixing an existing procedural problem. Labeling the correction of an administrative oversight as new revenue is misleading. Ahmad recently described PUSD as a destination school district, yet we are proposing cuts to the risk people that were just presenting earlier today: science, music, language, and core secondary subjects. If we remove the professionals who provide these essential services, we lose the excellence that attract families, and we are no longer going to be that destination district. It is difficult to ask the community for more when we're facing 10+ millions in administrative errors. Our kids do not deserve a parcel tax. They deserve the best teachers and the highest quality programs through a well-run district. We must prioritize protecting our core instructional programs and restoring professional standards before we ask the taxpayers to supplement these failures. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, come on up.
Good evening.
If you could just introduce yourself if you haven't made a comment card yet. Thank you.
My pleasure. Jenica Liverpool, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to add my voice as well to Pleasanton being a destination for schools. I wanted to re-emphasize the points that I know a lot of parents have made over the past few months, that the reason it's a destination city for schools specifically is because of the programs that are being cut, that were cut. And so I love that we have this, revenue generating file. I think it's fantastic. The one point that I wanted to call out is if we're relying on trying to bring new families into Pleasanton, I think there also needs to be a campaign around keeping the ones you currently have. A lot of parents that I've been speaking to are either talking private school or talking moving out of Pleasanton. So I wanted to bring that to your attention just in case you weren't in conversations with lots of other parents. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Great, great discussions. Anyone else to come up for public comment? Okay, then if not, we're going to officially close public comment, and we're going to bring it back to the board. There is no action on this item, but for concluding comments, I'm going to bring it back to fellow trustees.
No additional comments.
All right, so I want to start off by saying thank you again for doing this. I appreciate it because oftentimes, this is now my second year on the board, and for a long time we've been so focused on budget reduction that we've never really, had the time to say what we were doing to add as revenue generation, but also this is a good way of showing all the things that the board over time has asked for as looking into for revenue generation, and ideas from the community are on that list as well. So I appreciate that we're finally doing this and putting it into a place where everyone can actually see these things and be able to tell what are we trying to do and what are we hoping to accomplish. My family, I've been muted. No. I was like, damn. My family moved here in 1995 for the high tech boom that was going on. My family could never afford to buy a house in this town. We have been lifelong renters the entire time that we've been here. And they moved here from Idaho, and they thought back then that a house of $200,000 was way too expensive and too high, and that we'll just buy later when they go down. They never went down. That was a mistake. But I'm still a renter. I rent in a one-bedroom apartment really close to downtown. So I understand very well how much families pour into these. Marching band is not cheap in this city. Let me tell you, I did sports, so I understand. Oftentimes the ask that comes out of that. But the reality, too, is the state has failed us. Federal government has failed us when it comes to funding. And at the end of the day, do I want a parcel tax to be the solution to this? Absolutely not. But we also have to recognize the fact that we do have declining enrollment. We want to bring in more students. That's great because we do get funding per kid, which helps us keep these programs. But if we want to keep these programs that bring people here, we have to have something that covers the cost of them while we're losing the students that would typically pay for them. Because the cost of these programs has gone up regardless of if the amount of students has gone down over time. So if we want to hold on to these things, we either need to use these things to revenue generate and add more to it, or we need to do something like a parcel tax. I teach in Hayward. We just closed an elementary school, and we're about to go out for our second parcel tax. They already have one there. That's how bad things have gotten. And it's unfortunate. We are a phenomenal district. We are in the top, not just the top 10 for the state, but we are the top one in Alameda County. And that is not an easy thing to keep. Our other districts around us are cutting AP courses and the amount kids are allowed to take. The other districts around us are doing mass layoffs and rifts as well. Their funding is in chaos. I'm thankful that we've actually managed to keep a superintendent because apparently everyone else around us has now lost theirs. But so go us. Tri-Valley Bar is a little low right now.
We love your worries.
But I believe in this district. My family moved here because we believed in this district. My mom literally put a minivan on 2 wheels when she saw the house she wanted to rent because she wanted to be in this district. So I don't just believe that we can weather it. I believe we can find ways to be sustainable so we don't have to keep making these asks.
Right, well said. I don't have any other concluding comments, and we actually still have a lot of other items to cover for tonight. So thank you, trustees. We are and thank you, Dr. Geisels and staff, for providing this presentation. I do appreciate the fact that we do have to be forward-thinking and understand it's a process. It's going to take time, and we will look forward to having follow-up updates on that. So with that, we are going to move to item D, which is discussion/action. This is a resolution 2025-2026.35, declaring property as exempt surplus land. Aaron, thank you for coming up to provide a presentation on this. You have 10 minutes for the presentation, or less.
All right, we'll do less. The district currently owns the property located at First and Burnell here in Pleasanton. The site previously housed the district offices, Pleasanton Virtual Academy, Adult Education, Village High School, Adult Transitions, STEAM, and our operations yard. The programs, in many cases, have been relocated or will be relocated in the coming years. The board convened a 7-Eleven committee to study the First and Burnell property in 2022. The committee found the property to be surplus at that time and recommended the property for sale or lease. The next step now in the process is for the board to affirm their findings and formally declare the property surplus by adopting Resolution 2025-26.35. The resolution also complies with the Surplus Land Act and the Government Code by declaring the property as exempt surplus, so the district is not required to make certain required offers for the property. Once adopted, staff will submit the resolution to the Department of Housing and Community Development. The district intends to seek a waiver of the competitive bidding requirements in the Education Code from the State Board of Education. Doing so would allow the district to utilize a request for proposal process rather than competitively bidding the property. Staff will confer the 7-Eleven committee on March 31st, 2026 regarding the use of the request for proposal process. Staff will also confer with our labor partners regarding the use of the request for proposal process. Staff will then issue a subsequent resolution regarding the request for proposal process to the Board of Trustees for their adoption after the 7-Eleven committee and labor partners have provided their feedback. This resolution will be submitted to the state for their review and approval. This process allows the district to sell the property to a vendor who offers the greatest value based on an objective scoring rubric rather than simply offering the property at the highest price. Concurrently with this process, the district will also offer the property to local government agencies, including but not limited to the city and county. If a local agency does not wish to buy the property, or if a local agency is interested, but the parties are unable to agree on the terms of the sale, then upon approval by the waiver of the State Board of Education, the district can issue the request for proposal and seek a private buyer. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions.
Fellow trustees, questions? Yes, Trustee Brown.
So if you could summarize, so we're making a choice to go through an RFP process rather than competitive bidding. So we're not obligated to pick the highest price.
Correct.
Right? And instead we can pick the, quote, best value.
Correct.
In practical terms, why is that necessitated? Is that because we want to retain some design control as a board to make sure that whatever gets put there is in the spirit of Pleasanton and Pleasanton values? Like, what is the purpose of retaining that control?
I'm going to help on that answer. I just want to clarify one thing. Today's resolution is not that resolution. This is just to declare it surplus. That then initiates a set of other actions the district needs to take based on Ed Code and the law. We will bring back another resolution which will specifically request us to do that waiver. And my answer and what we'll say to that question for that resolution is that when you create an RFP and you don't just look at price, you can look at the quality of the vendor, the reliability of the vendor, their track record, their history, because you may get the highest bid, but it may not end up being the best project and relationship for the district, right? And so sometimes they combine and the highest bid and the best vendor are the same, and sometimes they may not be, but we'll be able to create a rubric that looks at their history, their local presence, all of those factors that will make sure it's a successful project for PUSD and the community.
Right. So as an example, they might be the best price, but they might be a very high risk, and they'll drop out, in which case the whole project gets delayed, and then the district incurs additional costs because we were reliant on the property being vacant to do the cascading, et cetera. Okay, so I appreciate the answer, despite it not being the item, but it was mentioned in the write-up of the item, so I think I'm within my purview.
Yeah, it's very complex.
You did not violate the Brown Act.
No, it's a very complex process. It's multi-step.
Yeah.
And I wanted to indicate, I know there's some people that are not in the audience anymore, but this is a very complex multi-year project that we've actually, we're kind of at the midway point by having the rebuild of the high school, the moving of the STEAM, the moving of the district office. And so we're kind of, the reason we waited at this time to bring the resolution because of the timing of everything that needs to occur. And so this has been one of my main focuses, and now I have a partner to work with Aaron, that I'm also bringing up to become as skilled in this area as I am.
Okay. No, I've been on the board 4 years, and this is how long it's taken, and we're at 50% according to your spreadsheet, and I'm okay with that. I think it's reasonable given the complexity of the moves that we're doing that you outlined. Anyway, no other comments.
Questions? Comments later.
No other questions.
I'm just teasing. Other questions? Okay, I already asked my questions in the Q&A, which is actually alluding to some of the answers you already clarified. Just feedback in general for the write-up, if there's certain things that are going to happen later, perhaps, I don't know, think about how to present the information. Maybe present it in the slide deck versus in the write-up, because I was asking very specific questions and all the responses were the same, saying, well, that's going to happen after the resolution. So going back to what Trustee Brown just also asked. But all right, so if there's no other questions, I'm going to move this to public comment. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to come up to speak about this. Okay. So if not, we're going to close public comment and conclude with comments.
No additional comments.
Just happy to see it moving along. As someone who's been on a 7-Eleven committee, like, it is a long, slow process. So I'm very happy to see this moving along the way it is. You guys are doing what you need to do, and I appreciate it.
You can change your spreadsheet to 51%, Ahmad.
Okay, so I do have a couple comments. So it's a little backwards for me. This particular item is asking for identifying Burnell property as surplus, which is a little backwards, as I already stated, with the process, because there's been a lot of conversation with the board in the last couple of years of what to do with this property before this resolution even came up. So I want to give a little bit of history of this property. For those who may not be native to Pleasanton, like myself, and did not do property history or history of Pleasanton when I was in third grade, like I know our third graders do. The original grand land grant for Burnell property was established in the early 1800s with brothers Augustin and Juan Pablo Burnell, and they received this land from Mexico, which established the area and helped establish the city. How this property became related to the school district is that in the 1980s, we had, it actually wasn't Pleasanton Unified. That became, I think it was in 1989. I don't remember the exact year. But basically, that's when the district office came to the property, which was 4665 Burnell Avenue, which was established in the 1980s. And prior to that, it was Village High School. So I'm sure there's many residents that are here and they know all that, but for perhaps some of us may not necessarily realize that. So where am I going on this? I am just also going to ask my trustees to let me make my statements, and then we'll move on. But I oppose stating that this is surplus property space. I never agreed to moving the district office to this location on Las Positas, and I'm not going to get on my soapbox, but I wanted to state that I have always advocated for affordable housing for our teachers. Where we place that and what we do with that certainly has already alluded to potentially being at the Burnell property. But that said, there's been an exorbitant amount of money spent to move the district property from Burnell to here, and now in the same conversation tonight we've been talking about how to do surplus, decentralize this space, because that hasn't worked out. So I just want to state that sometimes a decision's made and sometimes it's a mistake. And so I do not agree that this was necessarily long-term the wisest decision for this district. But the decision was made, and now we're where we're at. So I just wanted to state my opposition to this initial concept. But that said, I understand every trustee has their voice, their opinion, they make their points, and then we move on as a board moving forward. So thank you. That's my comment. So with that, we are looking for a motion for this particular item.
I motion to approve.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion to support this by Trustee Jones, seconded by Trustee Brown. We're looking for a preferential vote. Do we? I'm sorry. Do the student trustees, can they vote on this? Okay. All right. Okay.
Aye.
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 And no. So the motion passes 3-1 and 1 absent. So with that, thank you. All right. Next agenda item is discussion action agreement with Overa and company for the Progressive Design Build contract on the LSI modernization project, and resolution number 2026-2027.36, authorizing the design build construction of the LSI modernization project. You've got 10 minutes, and thank you so much for being so patient for coming for this agenda item. So next time, maybe we'll adjust the order so you don't have to wait so long. So, all right, thank you. Go ahead.
Well, thank you so much. Maybe we can just take a moment to introduce, if you want to start with yourself, Lance, if you press there you go.
Yeah, I'm Lance Kutz. I'm with PBK Architects. I'm Senior Managing Principal for Northern California.
My name is Mike Conrad. I'm the Vice President with Overa. Thanks for having us.
I am Abasta Inabi, Construction Management from Ropeland, working on this project.
Great, thank you. So we're here to present this very exciting LSL Elementary School campus modernization project. Lenita, could you, I'm sorry, it's not connected. Oh, here we go. Great, so today we're going to talk a little bit about what progressive design build is and why we chose this delivery method, some of the work that we've done to date, a little bit about the schedule and the budget, and then talk next steps. So we're going to keep it moving here, but happy to answer any questions as we go through. So progressive design build is a delivery method that allows the district to hire the contractor and the architect as a team early in the design process. It's a way that we can bring that very skilled team together to maximize efficiency and manage risk. But progressive design build differs from traditional design build, which we've used at our high school projects, in that we're not locking a GMP, a guaranteed maximum price, in today. We're only locking in fees and markups. And we're doing that because we're very early in the design process, and this delivery method gives us the maximum amount of flexibility to work through some of those design questions and receive feedback that's so important for an efficient and effective design. It allows the design builder to do some early listening with our users and our principals to better understand what their needs are and their challenges, and to formulate a project that then fits within our preliminary budgets. It includes a mechanism to monitor costs throughout the design phase and provide real-time schedule updates. And OVRA and PBK were chosen because of their skill in that field. Again, it allows us to lock in our architect's fees, our contractor's fees, bonds, insurance, pre-construction fees, and markups early through the competitive process so that we, again, maximize value for the district. And then we will be bringing the guaranteed maximum price back to the board at a future date when the design is complete. So we began this process with an RFQ, RFP. And we originally advertised back in November of 2025, and we did 2 advertisements in accordance with Public Contract Code. We received our statements of qualifications from 8 firms. We scored those firms, and we shortlisted 4 qualified firms. Each of our staff met with each of those proposing firms 3 different times to review their design concepts and provide feedback. And the final proposals were evaluated by the LSL site staff. So we had 2 teachers and the principal. Unfortunately, they couldn't be here tonight. It's a little bit late for them. Facility committee board members, facilities and construction staff, and then district leadership. And proposals were evaluated based on team experience, project approach, design quality, collaboration, strategy, and overall value to the district. So tonight we're presenting the OVRA PBK team, and as we go through this, we wanted to take a moment to highlight why this firm was chosen. Their design met the educational and programmatic needs of the site that really connected with our users. It's an efficient campus layout with improved circulation, so it focuses on addressing some of the pickup drop-off and some of our undersized core facilities like the MPR and the library. It's an efficient project schedule which saves money by avoiding interim housing, and that limits disruption to the teachers, and it reduces the project duration, which are all important factors. And it emphasizes accessibility and inclusivity. Those were some of our core values as we were working through these preliminary designs. So why, the PBK team? Well, and the OVRA team. Well, OVRA is a well-respected general contractor with a long track record of success in the Bay Area. They're union and signatory to both the Carpenters and the Laborers Union. PBK is a wonderful partner who provides a depth and breadth of talent that we don't typically see within architecture firms. They have a nationwide presence. And one of the things that really resonated with the users is how well their design evolved through the listening campaign. So, they came in with some very early ideas in the beginning. They received feedback, and they transformed their design based on that feedback. And you could see how that really connected with the users. It was a nice connection there. So, getting into the nitty-gritty, some big-time schedule milestones that we're looking forward to. So, as soon as we get approval, we're going to begin design. In fact, we have our first design meeting scheduled already. We have a compressed design schedule to meet our overall milestone goals. We expect to finalize the guaranteed maximum price within the first half of 2027 with a construction start date of June 2027. So we're about 15 months away from breaking ground. That's pretty impressive. And then we're expecting a construction finish in 2029. Our current budget is $43.5 million with the expectation that we'll have some developer fees to supplement that, but we haven't quantified those quite yet. Now, what are we locking into today? So today we're asking for approval to begin design, which is valued at $2.2 million. And then we're asking for funds for OVRA's pre-construction, and that will help support estimating, scheduling, and constructability reviews, and give us that real-time feedback that we need to stay on track. So the total design phase contract will be about $2.4 million, and again, we're going to bring the guaranteed maximum price back at a future board meeting. We're also going to be locking in what's called general conditions, and these are the fixed costs of OVRA as we move through the building process. So things like construction trailers and superintendents, project managers, computer software, temporary fencing. So we're locking those in. Now those could change a little bit if our schedule changes, but I think it's a pretty good pretty good range that we've established right now, and it's within the industry standard. We're locking in the percentages for bonds, insurance, and builder's risk, and that's 3.3% of the cost of work. We're locking in overhead and profit at 4% of the cost of work, and the contractor's contingency at 3% of the cost of work. So we're starting to kind of define what our fee structure is going to be early when we have a pool that we're working with and who are competing against one another. So this again brings maximum value to the district. So from a next step perspective, we're going to be forming, or we have actually formed, a site committee. We're going to be completing the programming. So what that means is we have a single sheet of design right now which shows the number of classrooms and buildings and where they land on the campus. We're going to be validating that with the site committee at large. We've gotten some great feedback from 2 of our teachers and the principal, but we need to expand that to receive more feedback. So that's going to be happening on March 31st and I think April 15th. And then from there, we'll be scheduling a community meeting to receive their feedback. We'll be consulting with the traffic engineer in the city as we evaluate different traffic flows to improve safety. And then we'll be finalizing our design and presenting the guaranteed maximum price. So we just want to share a brief preview that probably could be a little bit bigger on that screen. But if you look at the uppermost portion of the design, which is kind of up in here, that's our TK area. There you go. Actually, Lance, why don't you walk us through the design as the architect? Here, you tell me and I'll point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the yellow zone, let's talk about that.
Okay.
The administrative offices, the entry to the school, basically.
Can you press the button?
Yeah. I'm pretty loud, though. So we got the administrative offices located exactly where they are currently. So just to talk a little bit about the approach we're talking about, it consists of modernizing some of the existing structure that's there and bringing in new structures to support the overall program and future of the school. That's the way to come to a great balance that supports the overall budget that the district has for this. So we're talking about reusing some of the administrative building portion and revamping it to be more compliant, taking the existing NPR room and turning that into a new library that supports the whole campus. As Aaron already had pointed out, to the very top of the site, we're bringing in a brand new suite for TK and K. Then dropping down to the middle portion there, Aaron, of the campus. Those are the existing original school classroom buildings that we will modernize, and they will become classroom buildings again, just revamped for 21st century learning. And then if you go to the top right, that is now another new classroom suites. And of course, this is all being fleshed out of grades being in different portions of the campus that makes sense, right? You have TK, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third, fourth, fifth, as we move along. So then you come down to the mid part of the campus, and that is your new NPR room with a kitchen and music room and a stage to help support school activities. This project, or the NPR and the library, will support the overall goal for the student body count that you would like for this school in the future, right? So we're already taking that in consideration. Then down to the lower half, you have another classroom building, which supports about 8 more classrooms. That would be what we would focus as the 4th and 5th grade classes. Oh, yeah. And then enhanced parking. So we're talking about bringing in 2 different zones, right? You maintain your existing parking that comes off of Santa Rita, and you still have that same flow. However, we're also talking about introducing another parking zone and drive and drop off to help alleviate that traffic throughout the neighborhood and giving safety for the students to come across. You can see that there's a division between the 2 parking lots that allows for safe passage for the student body to come without ever mingling in with the cars.
So with that, thank you so much. With that, we'll turn it over to any questions you may have.
Okay, great. Questions, fellow trustees?
Just part of this falls into my area, so I had some parents ask me the question randomly enough. The cricket field that's in the back of Alisal, what is going to happen to that, and is it at all being incorporated in some way into the new school?
So we're in the very early stages of design, and it's a little too early to say. We are building cricket pitches. We have built one at PMS. We will be building one at Hart and Harvest Park. So we are expanding the facilities that the district is offering to the community. It is possible that we might be able to save it. It is possible that we might not. We're kind of working that out, but if we can, we will.
All right. I like this parking lot design. It's really good, especially for relieving traffic on Santa Rita. My question is, how is it too early, or how is the neighborhood in the connecting street now past El Cid? How are they reacting to that possible change?
That's a great question. So before we go to our community, what we want to do is validate our architectural program, and that's what we're looking at here today. So we want to make sure we have all the right buildings in all the right places, not too many, not too few. And then we're going to be presenting this to the community, and we're going to be using that moment to receive their feedback. Now, we have had preliminary conversations with the city, and the city is very excited about this because that intersection at Santa Rita it's tough, Santa Rita and Blackdare. But we have already identified which homes will be receiving postcards based on where that traffic flow would be occurring. And again, we'll be working with a traffic engineer. We like this design because parents are already dropping their kids off along that street on the back of the campus. This is then bringing those cars in to the back of the campus and getting them off the street rather than queuing up on the curb. A little bit safer for the kids, a little bit less traffic impact for those neighbors.
You know, it's a beautiful design. I think it's very well done. My dad used to be an architect, so this is fun to watch.
Other questions? Yes, Trustee Brown.
So, yeah, in terms of the parking, I've only ever sort of gone there for parking to be part of the Christmas parade and things like this with the Scouts and so on. That front parking lot has never seemed to me to be a very good design. Yeah. In terms of like that sort of whole wiggle wag. I mean, it's not angled parking, but at the same time, it's also not efficient parking and so on. So I'd like to see something as part of this whole thing done about that front parking. I do have the planning commissioner in me is like, okay, you're literally boxing those homes along Nevis Street, both sides, front and back, with car traffic. Mm-hmm. I can't see those people really liking that. Trustee Jones' comment was standing from a district perspective, it's a nice design. From a resident perspective, maybe not so much. Is that park at the back there ours? The green space?
This is the field.
Yeah, that sour field?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the property is a lot deeper than I realize, I guess. And then I guess the last fundamental question I have is just, should we be doing this, given that I can see us in the future going down to eight elementary schools?
So this is an area that's going to be likely experiencing enrollment growth. And so we've done quite a bit of planning. We have a lot more to do with this project. But one of the things that we love about this project is we think it's the right size approach. So this project provides a few extra classrooms or a few more that we currently have. So we're not growing it tremendously. It's just a couple of classrooms. It creates opportunities for future portables if enrollment ticks up, right? We also know we can address enrollment growth by adjusting boundaries. And one of the things I think that the site really appreciates about this is that currently they have classrooms in this area right here that are just not well loved. And so this project is really going to be helping improve the educational experience for those students. And at the same time, we have an MPR that they can't fit their kids in, so that's going to be addressing that question. And they have a library that's greatly undersized. So this is truly addressing growth. When this campus was built back in the, what was it, 70s or 50s? I think it was the 50s. Yeah, 50s. When it was built in the 50s, those core facilities were the right size. One of the challenges with development and enrollment growth is that it's easy to add a classroom, but you can't make your MPR bigger. You can't make your library bigger. And so as we add more kids incrementally, it's not a problem. But at some point, we tip the scales and it becomes a problem. And I think at this point, we've tipped those scales. And so to your point, at some point, elementary schools may be closed, but this is a campus that is in need of these enhancements.
Oh, yeah, no, I have no doubt that this is our most wanting elementary school campus. I'm just, if we rezone, is it the one that stays versus the one that might be at risk in the future? That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, I can answer that. This is one of the core campuses in the central part of the city. And so I think that any model that in the future, if enrollment trends continue and we'd have to look at consolidation, it probably would not be this campus. The size of development that the East Pleasanton is contemplating is going to generate a significant amount of students. It's a locked-in space. The best access is to Alisal. I do think that at some point in the future, in the next 5 to 6 years, with that developments coming online, we will have to look at boundary adjustments, but the need for Alisal will always remain.
And how much of the 10th elementary school funding that got rediverted to do this would be consumed by this project?
So is the $35 million that the board approved for the sale, and it would be the entirety of that fund is going towards a project, and then the rest of the funding is from the portion of Measure I that the district was going to put to address the NPR, all of those things. So it's actually a better use of the funds by combining the two funds together. We're now going to get a modernized and new campus that can be there for the next 50 years. And so I think in terms of strategic and long-term planning, the district needs to think about every 10 to 15 years of replacing some of our aging campuses. And so we've replaced Leidixon. Now we're replacing Alisal. We have we have several other older schools, but that's the normal process. These buildings have about an age of 50 to 70 years. You can modernize them a couple of times, but at some point. And so I think the district is strategically kind of one by one, kind of replacing some of the most aged campuses and modernizing the ones that have good bones. And that combination, I think, will serve the district very well into the next 50 to 70 years.
And do we envision that we can upgrade this school while keeping it open, or will we need to temporarily relocate some students to other?
No, that's actually the beauty of this design. We don't require interim housing with this design. So what will end up happening, actually, you want to walk us through the phasing? You press the button at the top there.
So the first step is to make sure that we build a new play space. That way, when we're in construction, that when we take over their play area with the new buildings, they'll still have a play area to have for that need. After play space is done, then we'll get into the new construction of the new buildings. That'll be happening while the existing buildings and the existing currently portables all stay operational. When we move into the new buildings, then we'll be able to tear down the old campus, and during the summer of 2028 is when we'll be doing the remodel of the existing campus.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? I don't have any questions since I've had the honor of being on the facilities committee and answered a lot of the questions that I've had. I do appreciate staff, the district's trustees' additional questions to provide additional insight that perhaps was not necessarily asked during the facilities committee, so I hope you're taking notes on those questions. So with no other questions, I'm going to open this item for public comment. Bill, just teasing. You don't have to come up and talk, I'm just teasing. Come on up. I put you on the spot. Please just make sure to speak in the microphone for people who might be watching on TV. Bill Foley.
Bill Foley.
The only person in the audience as of now. So thank you.
My question is how much grass area and play space gets displaced with the what appears to be the new set of buildings where the NPR
I'm sorry, can you make sure to talk into the mic? Make sure.
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a second.
Thank you. Start over. Thank you.
Bet you would work now, does it?
No, turn it back on. You just weren't talking into the mic.
How about now?
We can
Okay.
hear you.
Bill Foley, I have a question about the green space, the play area, where the new NPR cafeteria area is going to be. How much space do we lose in the play area?
Trying to figure out if I can make this remote work.
Oh, here. It's the top button.
Thank you. So the new buildings fairly well lay on top of the existing blacktop area. And
Okay.
this new play space is taking over existing field area. Currently, the field comes to right about this line here. So this area will be shrinking in that field this far.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you very much. All right, we're going to close this item for public comment and bring it back to the board for comments. Before we make, sorry, I just lost that. We are making a motion on this, right? Yeah. Okay, sorry. Yes. Comments before we make a vote.
I'm excited to see this move forward. Alisal was the first school that I came to when I was in Pleasanton, so this will be nice. Also, Overa's reputation precedes them, especially with my contacts within labor. So it's nice to see us working with somebody that not only supports workers, but also has apprentice programs that benefit our local community as well.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I just want to concur. I'm so pleased that this is moving forward, and we're driving by Alisal for the last 25 years, and I'm just so pleased. This is a great design, and I'm really looking forward for this project to come to fruition. So thank you so much. I appreciate all of you being here. So can't wait. Thank you.
I'll channel Mary Jo and say that she used to teach at the school, and she's really excited about seeing such a rebirth of the school that she spent so many years in.
Well stated. So I'm just going to make a couple quick comments, so take notes fast. I just would like to kind of reiterate my fellow trustees' comments about the cricket pitch. I think that's really important that we salvage and figure out a way to keep that. There was a lot of money and time from our community to establish it there at the elementary school, and there's actually a reason for that because it was specific to the age. And then my understanding is that the pitch, I'm sorry, oh my God, I mean, it's so tongue twisted. The fields, the cricket fields in the other schools are catered to the older students. The pitches are different sizes, and so there was a lot of effort putting that pitch for the elementary age students at Alisal, so it really does need to be maintained. Now that said, also to Trustee Brown's comments about worthwhile. It is my understanding that with the East Plan, with the city, if we have the projected housing in that area, it would feed into Alisal, is what I recall with the boundaries. And so I think that's important to highlight for his question that he stated. But just keep in mind there were some other valid questions, so please make sure to do the due diligence related to that for your work. So, and then just another comment, just to staff, if we have speakers who are going to be part of an agenda item and it's late, just let the board know so we can adjust the agenda so they're not staying till 10 o'clock to present. So with that, I'm looking for a motion and a second.
I motion to approve the vote.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Trustee Walker and seconded by Trustee Jones. Roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Are you sure, Trustee Brown? Did you want to, you had to think on that.
No, I had to think on it because, like I said, as a board, we have to think long term. But at the end of but we also, there's no other money in that bond that could be spent on. So this is a wise investment of that
I just want to make
bond
sure
money.
you were sure on your vote.
Yeah, no, staff did a great job answering the question. So, but it is a question that we need to constantly ask ourselves: is like, are we rehabilitating the sites that we're going to be with longer term as right now, the current trend is declining enrollment, declining enrollment, declining enrollment. So there's no uptrend in the enrollment. So we have to be making sure that we're making right long-term choices. And so the answer from staff is sufficient based on where the growth will come. This is a site that would not be at a future date likely considered surplus, and therefore it is a wise investment. So.
Okay, so
I had to think through that in my mind in placing the vote.
So we'll redo the vote since we've made additional comments. But yes, Trustee Jones, did you want to make a comment?
Yeah, just one thing really quick too. Because there's going to be the two parking lots the way that they are now, can we check with staffing as well, Mr. D'Alazzo, just to make sure that we have enough teachers and people to do yard duty for the two?
We have been consulting with the principal and staff, and so we'll continue that process.
All right, yeah. I just want to make sure we have enough teaching staff for that.
Any other comments? Okay, procedure, we're going to redo the vote.
That's fine. To be fair, I did vote, and you forced me to make comments.
Well, that's what facilitators do. Okay.
Aye.
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 And aye. Motion passes unanimously, 4-0 and 1 absent. Thank you very much for staying so late, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. We're going to try to get through quite a few other items before 10 o'clock. All right. So F, discussion action contract with United Inspection Incorporated for Inspector Record Services for the Walnut Grove TK project. 5 minutes or less. Aaron. Thank you. We're going to speak in the microphone.
This meeting, the Board of Trustees approved the construction contract for Walnut Grove TK expansion project. The work will begin this summer, and as part of our project team, staff will hire a project inspector. The project inspector performs daily on-site inspection of the work in place, prepares field reports, coordinates with district staff, and ensures that all required tests have been performed. Staff requested proposals from multiple firms and recommends awarding the contract to United Inspection. This is a requirement by the Division of State Architect. The contracted amount is within the board-approved budget, and the billable rates are aligned with industry standards. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
Okay, fellow trustees, questions? Okay, I don't have any questions either since I've had the honor of serving on the Facilities Committee, so I'm going to open this to public comment. Okay, closing public comment, looking for a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, and all those in favor?
Aye.
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 And aye. Motion passes 4-0-1 absent. We're going on to the next item, which is G. Discussion action change order number 2 to Blotch Construction for the design build agreement for the campus renovation project at Amador Valley High School.
All right. So Block Construction is our design build partner for the theater and gymnasium project. The Child Nutrition Services program has been running a surplus of funds for quite some time, and the state has has advised them that they need to spend these funds. And so one of the ways that they can spend those funds is by modernizing their kitchen. So the CNS team elected to do that. They elected to modernize their kitchen with the goal of improving food service experience for students and improving the number of meals that they can serve. One of their big constraints is how quickly they can get kids through the line, and that limits the number of kids because there's only so much time for lunch. So facilities and construction staff and CNS staff have been working with the design build team at Amador to begin the design process. So in June 2025, the Board of Trustees approved change order 1 to the block contract. And the scope of that work was to fund the design and construction of the kitchen work itself. And so that's the plumbing that goes into it, the flooring, the ceilings, the paint, all that good stuff. The work is scheduled to begin this summer. Staff are now prepared to purchase new kitchen equipment for that space. So that's things like new stainless steel tables and equipment that goes into preparing the students' food. We evaluated a number of different options to purchase this equipment. So things like CMAS, we evaluated bidding through the construction contract, and we determined that buying it through Block was the most cost-effective value add for the district. And there's 2 reasons behind that. One is we got the best price, And two, it places all the coordination with block. And with kitchen equipment, one of the most important things is to make sure your plumbing connections are in the right place, your power connections are in the right place, your drain lines are in the right place. And so by putting all of that under the block contract, it gives them the power to coordinate all that work more efficiently and reduces the risk of change orders in the future or changes to the work. And so with that, I'll open up to any questions you may have.
Questions? Seeing none, public comment? Seeing none, comments? Seeing none, looking for a motion and a second.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Trustee Jones and seconded by Trustee Brown and third by Trustee Walker. All those in favor, roll call.
Aye.
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 And aye. Motion passes 4-0, absent. Thank you so much. Next, G, discussion action change order. No. Yes.
Yes.
Change order. Sorry, it's the same company, so it threw me off. Or did I read
No, this
something?
is Roeblen now.
I'm sorry. Yes. Sorry. Are we on G or H? Oh my goodness, it's so late. All right. Discussion action contract with Roeblen Construction Management Incorporated for the Early Childhood Education Center at Harvest Park Middle School.
All right. So early childhood education project continues to progress. The next step in the life of this project is to bring a construction manager, project manager on board. And so the project manager is responsible for the day-to-day management of the project, ensuring that the needs of the users have been captured in the scope. The project remains on schedule and within the board-approved budgets. The scope of the work is for the design phase portion of the project only. Staff are developing a construction phase schedule, and once we develop that construction phase schedule, we will bring it back to the board as an amendment to that contract. And then with that, I will turn it over to any questions.
Questions? Seeing none. Public comment? Seeing none. Comments? Looking for a motion and a second and maybe a third.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Roeblen Construction Management for the Early Childhood Education Center at Harvest Park Middle School.
And I second.
Okay, motion by Trustee Brown, seconded by Walker. Roll call vote.
Aye.
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 And aye. Motion passes 4-0 and 1 absent. Thank you very much. So now I'm looking for a motion to extend the meeting by 10 minutes.
I make a motion to move item I to the next meeting.
Well, I want to extend the meeting first, then we will do that. So you read my mind a little too quickly, and you didn't even text me on that. So let's extend the meeting
I
for 10
wouldn't
minutes.
text another board member.
No,
during the
I'm
meeting.
kidding. Point of order. All right, just kidding. Can I look for a motion to extend the meeting by 10 minutes, please? Trustee Walker, somebody.
So moved.
All right, seconded.
I second.
Motion made by Trustee Jones, seconded by Walker, and out of order by Trustee Brown. Roll call vote. Aye.
Yes, for sure.
Aye.
Aye.
And aye. Motion passes 4-0, 1 absent. Now I'm looking for a motion to modify the agenda.
I would propose we make a modification of the agenda to move item I to the next board meeting at your pleasure.
I second it unanimously. Roll call vote, please.
Aye.
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 And aye. Motion passes 4-0, 1 absent. Do we need public comment on that? Okay, so, all right, so we have exactly 11 minutes to wrap this meeting up. We are looking for board reports and requests, so that means each trustee has 2 minutes or less.
Sure. I would like us to, if the board is interested, look into doing term limits or doing an agenda item looking at term limits for 3 terms, so 12 years, which is the average amount of time a person would have a kid in the district. And then also looking into the idea of what would a TK to K science program look like within our district. My last thing is I was at the St. Patrick's Day event hosted by the Eden area Dems, which was a lot of fun. We got to see some of our representatives from the area come out who have supported our programs in the past, so it was a fun experience. I got to see some of my students who are now firefighters that were in the firefighter program, so that was cool.
All right, thank you.
All right. So I went to Hearst Elementary School today to watch their walk through history. So that's always interesting. They bring in an external teacher to do that. That's always interesting, watch them reenact scenes and get points and so on. If you've never done that at an elementary school, it's cool. Missed the last couple of weeks due to work and other health issues, but glad to be here. And yeah, that's about it. Looking forward to Music as a Treat next week. Well, I'm looking forward to chaperoning the PMS music field trip, where they will be performing at, so they've got choir, strings, and band performing at Disneyland next week. So I will be on a bus next Wednesday as a chaperone alongside a number of other parents for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday next week. So that'll be an experience.
Thank you, Trustee Brown. Trustee Walker.
I don't really have much to report other than I spent a lot of time with President McCaughey preparing for our State of the District presentation, which I thought was very well done, and I think that we got a lot said, and I appreciated people who attended and look forward to many more collaborations with our President McCaughey.
And the entire board.
And the entire board.
Yes. And yes, special thanks to all the trustees who were able to attend to the, why do I always get it wrong? The State of the District, and understand completely for those who weren't able to go because they're working during the day. So we're not leaving yet, Justin. So you can see how we get when it's after 10. We get a little punchy. But so I would like to also just state that I do appreciate the hard work and collaboration with the district and staff to prepare the last couple weeks. A lot of work with human resources and working with CSEA, APT, and communications with our staff. We are very anxious to see how continued labor partner negotiations continue forward, and we very much appreciate that collaboration. And I don't even remember what I was going to say. But that said, we do have 2 future board meetings after spring break, April 16th, 2026, and April 30th, 2026. Governance will be moved to the April 16th, 2026 meeting. Please note, trustees, we may have some additional special board meetings for various items, so please let your available dates send to Lanita as soon as possible for potential dates that might need to be reserved. And thank you very much for those who stayed through the evening to join us tonight, and wanted to wish everyone a great spring break. Everyone, I hope you can take some vacation off, and we're going to officially adjourn this meeting. Look at a split, 10:03. Thank you.